Today we're joined by Alex Cleary, a genuine human who brings a really positive and honest perspective to life and growth. Before we get into it, quick trigger warning. This episode mentions suicide and includes some spicy language. Hope you enjoy the chat with Alex.
Thank you very much, Alex, for coming down and being our next guest in the greenhouse. For people that don't know you, you're a super interesting guy, and we're rapt to have you here today. In your young years, you're a little bit looser, and you kind of went and flipped it all upside down, and you've gone from working in Africa, running a marathon in Antarctica, running Ultraman, attempting to run from Sydney to Melbourne, and now you're running your own podcast and part of the team at King of the Hill. You sound like a pretty busy guy, but thank you for making the time and coming down here.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's great. It's great to come down here. I mean, it's beautiful down here. You've got a nice little setup.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, man. I guess I kind of want to ask you about your big life changes when you went from, being a little bit looser when you were younger to what the big kind of step was and what the shift was for you to, get into running and everything that you do now.
Yeah, I think, there's never really one sort of key point. There's so many just small little actions that happen that you stop and you think, I wish that didn't happen. I wish my life wasn't like this. And I think exactly what you said, there's so many young guys that like, it's such a typical thing to say, like, oh, I was a drunk, or I did too many drugs, or I partied too much, and then I found running and now I'm all good again. And I think, there's a lot that goes into that, but I think it's a pretty common story. Like some things that happened, like I lost my sister to suicide. That was a pretty big one. And it wasn't something that changed my life like right there and then, but it changed so many things in my life that over time that changed a lot about me and about how I see the world. And then as well, like I remember once I was riding my motorbike. I just bought this motorbike and I was riding it back from Townsville, which is about 9 or 10 hours drive from Mount Isa. And I just spent the whole weekend not treating my body very well and doing a lot of things that I probably shouldn't have been doing, but having a great time. And I thought, I'm going to ride back to Mount Isa. And of course, it was a Wednesday morning, but then it was Cheap Tuesday out at the club the night before. And yeah, I crashed doing like 150 Ks per hour about 4 hours into that ride home. Just fell asleep. And like that was another one where I had a mate drive like 5 hours to come and pick me up from the hospital there and drive me home that night. And I just remember crying like most of the way home. My bike was completely destroyed. Thankfully, I was pretty okay. But like there was lots of moments like that where I was just like, what the hell am I doing with my life?
Yeah, I find it real admirable that young guys can kind of look at you and see that, you kind of changed your life, but you didn't change who you were as a person. I think a lot of people battle with being this one type of person and then going, you know what, I need to take that leap and become something else. But it's so scary because they don't want to lose themselves. Did you find, how did you kind of balance, still being yourself, but kind of taking that leap and going, you know what, stuff this, I'm sick of this lifestyle, but I don't want to, I'm going to still have the same friends. I'm going to still do all that. But yeah, how did you kind of balance?
I don't think I balanced very well. Not at all. I think a lot of times you just go from one extreme to the other. Like you go from, I don't know what it is about partying or doing drugs or drinking in excess that like you just want to take it to the nth degree. And that was sort of my personality. It was like, how far can I take this? How drunk can I get? How much drunker can I get than everybody else? How much louder can I get than everybody else? And that was sort of just the way I lived my life for a long period of time there. And I think like to move away from that, I was like, how many more kilometers can I run than everybody else? How further can I go? How much harder can I make this? And it's like changing one addiction for another. And I never would have considered myself addictive or having an addictive personality, but I think you're sort of just trading one for the other. And going from one extreme to the other, like I don't hang out with any of my friends from back then, and it's just is what it is. Like we were talking about it with Ollie,
Yeah.
and it's just like people saw me and probably still see me for the person that I was and not the person that I am now. And the people that you surround yourself with is everything. And now I surround myself with people that are going in the same direction that I want to go in or are steps ahead of me, like yourself. Like I come here and I see I'm surrounded by two people that I'm like in awe of realistically. Like I look at your household here and I'm like, this is exactly what I want for my future. I look at the relationship that you have with your son and I think that's exactly what I want in my future. I listen to the way that you speak to Rachel in there and I think that's exactly what I want for my future. Like, and it's not just you. I have many people in my life that I look around to and I think these are the things that I want. I want this house. I want this property. I want to be the best husband ever. I want to be the best dad ever. And it's just like, those are the people that I surround myself with now. And not that I'm super, like I haven't known you for that long, but this is the type of crowd that I want to be surrounded with. And that's sort of where that leads to. But that doesn't happen. Like I didn't just one day just turn around and I was like, this is it. I think it was probably more like a 5-year stretch of being completely lost to where I am now, realistically.
Do you think you were influenced by those around you as well, or was it just your own actions?
Oh, I think I would be silly to say that other people made me the way that I am, but I would say it would definitely encourage behavior. Like, what are you doing this weekend? Well, we're all getting like that's what we're doing. That's just what it is. We're all getting wrecked. So you know what I mean? And it's just like that sort of environment where it's not like, oh, you're gonna go for a run this weekend. Like I didn't have anybody around me like that, and I was never the person to be like, let's do that.
Do you reckon that a lot of young guys struggle with that as well? Like the environment that they're in, it's so normalized that then they're just like, well, yeah, this is life. This is what we do, and there is no escaping that. And then until something like a motorbike accident or your sister passing away, those things can kind of like
take life for granted in a way. Do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think as well. Like I'm from Mount Isa, which is regional Queensland, way up near the Northern Territory border. And that environment, it's a mining town. It's population maybe 20 to 25,000. My entire childhood was everyone there is making really good money because they're all working in the mines or they're working in some industry associated with the mines. So everyone's just there, what do they call them? Cubs, cashed up bogans. And like my family are included in that. Like we're all cashed up bogans. So everyone gets a job in the mines. There's not a lot going on out there. Like there's a lot of sport and I played every sport under the sun growing up because there's nothing else to do when you're younger. But then it gets to the point where, oh, there's a house party on. Oh, so-and-so can get you a carton of vodka cruises or something. And, you go from being as infatuated with sport as possible to, you're hitting like 14, 15 and it's like, where's the next party? What's going on? And there's nothing else really going on out there. And then you get a little bit older, you get a license, you can start driving. Oh, we're going camping. Sweet. Let's go get 15 cartons of piss to go out to the local watering hole. And that's sort of just, that's what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the flip side of that, when you start hanging out with people that are just running 100K weeks or anything like that, you tend to start to shift in the direction of what your environment is now. And you normalize it as well.
Well, it's so cool that you are around an environment, around the King of the Hill boys, and it's epic. You just go out, oh, let's do a challenge. Let's do burpees. It's a completely different flip. It's like you've completely flipped, and it's awesome to see that.
Yeah, with those guys, do you find that that's where you've surrounded yourself with people that are chasing that, like you mentioned, kind of chasing the same goals? Because those guys, I remember at King of the Hill turning up and everyone was like, many hands make light work. And then everyone's coming over, helping you out and stuff like that. And it's like the character of those people. I can see why you're with those guys because, I consider you like one of those guys. You're super polite, super nice, wanting to help others. And do you find that that's where you're kind of at now, surrounding yourself with guys like that?
Yeah, I think like what's the saying? It's like likeness attracts like attraction, law of attraction or something.
Yeah.
Like the more you become the person that you want to be, the more you find the people that you want to become.
Yeah.
So when I first moved to Melbourne, sort of full time is when I sort of first met Ethan, and I did an interview for Hardcore Harry's when they did a Hidden Legends thing, and they wanted to talk about Antarctica. And that was I'd spoken to Ethan before that. I never knew him. And then after that, there was another opportunity where I think he was riding a push bike for 24 hours. I went and buried 200 Ks with him around Albert Park. And that was just like another experience that we hung out a bit more. And then, you know, the more I pushed myself into this area, the more I found people that were suited to where I wanted to be, which obviously Ethan's been a huge part of that.
Yeah.
And I think it's sort of just like, I was happy to be alone for a long period of time there, which was ultimately what happened. Like I moved to a new city. I didn't know anybody. I pushed myself into areas that I was uncomfortable in, like a run club, for example. I don't go to run clubs now, but for a good period of time, that was how I was meeting people and how I would get that sort of energy from meeting people that are associated with the lifestyle that I want.
Yeah.
And I think it's just sort of part and parcel. Like you trying to be somebody different means you're going to have a cognitive dissonance with the people that you came from. And there'll be obviously that lonely chapter that every masculine influencer wants to talk about. But I think it's important. Like there is a point where you'll disassociate from the people that you were with, and you'll try and associate with people that you want to be like.
You're not quite, and that middle bit, you're not quite there.
Yeah.
You're not quite there.
I was going to mention, it's like Chris Williamson always talks about it, about where you're just above moving away from those friends, that norm that you used to be with, and this unknown that's ahead. You're like, oh, why am I getting up so early at 3 a.m. for you? And why am I going to the gym? I'm not seeing any rewards, none of this. And how do you, like, did you feel really lonely in that time? Or, well, obviously you had the run clubs, but what were other things you were thriving on to help you?
Well, I'd say like that whole period realistically started, that was probably really over like a 5-year period where it was like I'd try and not drink. I'd try and not, like, because I used to smoke ciggies flat out. So I'd try and not do those things, and then I'd fall back and I have a few benders and blah, blah, blah. And then I would not think about that for a long time. And then I'd start going to the gym. I'd start listening to Chris Williams. I start reading more books, and then I'm getting into it. And then, you know, my circumstances would change. I'd be somewhere different. I'm around different people again. And then suddenly I'm drinking, I'm smoking, I'm doing all the things that I didn't want to do. So I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, it's like a long period of time where you're trying to be someone different, and then you fall back, and then you try and be someone different, and then you fall back.
Yeah, I looked at your Insta account, and I looked back a fair bit just to have a look at what you were up to, and your journey is it was all spelled out there essentially, right? Did you find that your Instagram account and what you were posting and things like that kept you accountable to who you were as well? It was almost like another tool in the tool belt that helped you go, hang on, this is who I am. I'm posting this stuff, so then you might not stray as much.
Yeah, I think that was one of the really big things. Like, because realistically, there was probably like a 4 or 5 year period there, but I only really knuckled down in the last probably 2 or 3 years, like really knuckled down. And the Instagram was probably a big part of that. And I think it came from, you know, I have a separate Instagram from my old life, and I had that. And then when I came back to, when I started in Africa pretty much, I saw a mate lose a whole bunch of weight. I think he lost like 35 kilos in the space of 6 or 7 months. And I was sort of, you know, when like you're trying to do something and you're sort of dipping your toe in and you're doing, and this was sort of the period of my life where I spent a couple of years like trying to wake up early, trying to go to the gym, try and run a bit, and then not really doing anything to a great standard. And then I watched him like just lock in for 7 months. And I was so inspired because I'd only ever known him as someone like me, like drinks, has a good time, like obviously a bit overweight to lose 35 kilos. And then he just locked in and just said, that's it. Like I'm doing it. And then when I saw him do that, I was just like, oh man, I'm doing kind of like the right things. I'm journaling. I'm kind of doing the things, but the intensity I'm doing it at is like about 10%. And that's when pretty much as soon as I saw that, I was like, what is the hardest possible thing I can do and base my entire personality around that? And that's where I booked Antarctica. And that's when I started the Instagram page. And as that journey went on, you know, I still drank and smoked and did all those things. But as that journey went on, the more I associated myself with, someone who's healthier, someone who does these hard things, somebody who has this chip on his shoulder that wants to prove that he's not a loser, the more I walked to that direction, the more I didn't associate with somebody who drank like a fish, someone who smoked, someone who did drugs. And then the more it got to the point where, it's kind of crazy because I spent years, I'd smoked for 10 years. I spent every year trying to quit cigarettes. And I had brief periods where I did well, where I'd go cold turkey. I tried tablets. I even got hypnotized once. I tried all these things to quit. And really what it came down to at the end was I didn't associate myself as a smoker anymore because I was doing all these other things. Smoking just did not make sense to me. And then one day I just stopped. And I'm like, what the hell? Yeah. What the hell is that? I spent years, literally years trying to quit cigarettes. I would go cold turkey. I would wean myself off. I hypnotize everything. And then it got to the point where I just said, I'm not a smoker. This doesn't make sense in my life. And I just stopped smoking. And then I had one cigarette a week later after that. And I was like, this is disgusting and gross. I don't like it. I haven't smoked since. And that was, over 2.5 years ago.
It's almost like it's the thing that you were doing mattered more than the cigarettes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was such a strange thing.
I know a few people that are like that. I remember my old boss went to a milk bar and he'd buy 3 packets of Marlboros every day. And he went there with his young son and his son's like, oh, Dad, can I have a lollipop? Can I have a lollipop? And he looked at his son, he's like, no, mate, you can't have a lollipop. They're no good for you. And then he looked back and then he's like, no, I won't take them and quit smoking. And then he went cold turkey from that moment and never smoked again. It's just that moment where you actually realize, hang on, this is not good for me.
Yeah, it's weird because when you're smoking, you know it's not good for you and you want to give up. But it's you never actually want to give up. You never really want to just let go. The thing I always struggled with was when I drank, loved smoking darts.
Yeah.
I would just blow through a whole packet one night and it would be the best. Same with camping. I used to love just chuffing darts 24/7 while camping. And then, I don't know, it's weird because then you try and give up, but inside you're like, I love cigarettes. I love smoking darts.
Yeah.
And it's not until you realize that you're just sort of telling yourself that. And it's not until you truly want to give up, you truly want to stop that you say, I don't actually like cigarettes.
Yeah.
And then it goes from someone offers you a dart and you're like, oh, I'm quitting, to someone offers you a dart and you're like, I don't smoke.
Yeah.
And it's you make that mental switch. And I don't know why it took so long to make that mental switch. But as soon as I made that mental switch, it was like, I don't smoke. That's not something I even associate myself with.
That's cool. That's good.
We talk about rewards, that they're a good thing sometimes. You have a really hard run, you have a donut afterwards. Is that something that you do nowadays with, say, alcohol? Or is it just no alcohol completely? But are you really hard on yourself still now? Or is it, it's okay, I can have a reward every once so often? Because it can be a mental toll if you're just so hard on yourself 24/7.
No, I definitely reward myself. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
No, I haven't drank at the end of this year, it'll be 2.5 years.
That's awesome.
I haven't smoked in a month longer than that. So those aren't really my rewards now. My rewards is eating like a fat fuck. They're my rewards now. Honestly, to me, doing a hard race and just going home and having some KFC, that is perfect for me. Or having a Cinnabon, I bought you guys a Cinnabons.
Yeah. I can't wait to try them.
They're my guilty pleasures, having a really nice feed or just something that I know I shouldn't have. That's how I relax pretty much.
Well, we'll get into Antarctica in a second, but I wanted to talk about the Sydney to Melbourne. So your mind looked completely spent afterwards. And I know you had reasons for pulling out with rhabdo and your issues with, what was it? It was I saw something about
Deep vein thrombosis.
Yeah, that. And it was I wanted to ask you, do you think that you could have kept pushing through it? Are there any what ifs? What if I could have done something to prevent this? What if I could have just pushed through harder? I know it's rhabdo we're talking about, but do you think there are those what ifs from there?
No. I in terms of preparation, there's a million it's not even what ifs. I know exactly what I didn't do correctly. But in terms of did I leave everything out there, I know for certain I left everything out there. And I think, I owe a lot of that to Ethan, honestly. If Ethan wasn't there, I would have given up days before that. But I had an hour and a half podcast on why I ate shit on that event. And
I watched a video of you on that on your last day, and it would have been physically impossible for you to do the Ks that you had to do in a whole day because you were just like you were spent, like you were in a real bad place.
The 10-minute Ks, I worked it out. It was something like, it was well and truly under 100 Ks in 24 hours. I'm like, he's definitely not getting through it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, I really underprepared for it. And I think that was, it was good because it really humbled me and I needed that humbling. And in that sort of time span over the course of 18 months there, from going to Antarctica, like from signing up to Antarctica to 18 months later trying to run from Sydney to Melbourne, doing 100 Ks a day for 10 days. That whole period was always going to come to an event that stopped me, I think, because I wanted to find my limit and I had this chip on my shoulder that I was a loser. And by doing these things, I was proving to myself that I wasn't a loser. I could do hard things. It started with Antarctica, but in the preparation to Antarctica, I did my first ultra marathon. Then I did an ultra marathon in Africa around a 1 kilometer loop after work one day, which I thought was crazy. I thought that was the sickest thing ever. And then I remember and then during that time, I stopped smoking, stopped drinking. And then I did, in a 2-week or a 2.5 week span, I landed from Africa the next day. I ran my first 100 kilometers. And then the next weekend I did my first trail ultra. And then I think the trail ultra was on a Saturday. On the Monday, I started a marathon a day for 7 days. And it was like all these challenges where I wanted to test my limit. I wanted to see if I was good enough to do these things. And all of those things, I think, you don't need to be that great of a runner to be able to do these things. They're more mental than they are physical. Like a marathon a day is a hard challenge, but you can walk a marathon a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's more the mental side of it. Where, Ultraman was probably one where, I wouldn't have been able to complete that at all if I didn't train. So that was much more than a mental thing. I was a lot more, especially for me, swimming. I had to learn to swim to be able to do that event. And then trying to learn to swim in Africa was also like a whole nother thing. But then Sydney to Melbourne was sort of like, I needed to be a much better athlete. I needed to have way better preparation. I think mentally at that time period, I was there, ready to rock and roll. I was as ready as I could have been mentally. Probably could have, knowing what I know now, I would come into it with a whole different mindset, but just so woefully underprepared. If I think about Ultraman, I had months and months and months to prepare for Ultraman because I went from Antarctica in December to Ultraman in May. And then from May to September, I think I only had 12 weeks or... Oh, yeah, that's right. Because I got DVT and then I had a small tear in my hemi, I think.
So it was just in that much hurt, so he doesn't even remember.
Yeah, no, the DVT was the problem because I had
Yeah.
a fully swollen leg and I couldn't walk around. So I had to have, I think, two full weeks off, and then I had to ramp up again. So then I only really had a 12-week block, and it's just not enough for that amount of running, and it's just like physically underprepared, mentally as prepared as I could be, but could obviously be better, and then just operations wise, not even close to how prepared you need to be for something like that. But if I had to finish that, I would have just gone to the next bigger event and failed that. Or I would have done that. I would have got to a point where I failed somewhere.
Yeah. I know you said that you're really underprepared, but you've had some really interesting reflections on the Sydney to Melbourne attempt. And for those who haven't seen these reflections, what's like one specific big learning that you've had from that experience that you will take forever?
Just physically, my physical preparedness, I think, was just not even close. Like for something of that size, because I didn't just want to run from Sydney to Melbourne. I didn't feel like that was a good enough challenge, because I think if you just run a marathon a day, it's only 23 days or something. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's like you could walk that realistically. Where I thought 100 Ks a day is just like so unfathomable that it just, and it's particularly with the elevation, because we went around the coast. So it was, 16, 1700 meters elevation per day, which sounds like nothing after King of the Hill.
But that's a lot.
It really takes a toll on you. And my eventual goal was I wanted to do Perth to Sydney, and I wanted to break the record because I watched Chris Turnbull do it, and I thought that is just the most amazing thing I've ever seen. So this was sort of like the warm up to that. So I think just being more physically prepared for sure, and just operations wise, like you need sleep, and mentally, I think I favored sleep more than I favored being tough enough to wake up and just say it is what it is, like that acceptance piece. Like I remember the first day, I really struggled the whole first day. And I think I struggled because, you think you're going to run 100 Ks a day for 10 days. And it sounds really nice. It rolls off the tongue. It's great for advertising.
I wish I had said marathon a day.
Yeah. It rolls off the tongue nice. It sounds so much better than what it really is. Because what it really is suffering for, 15, 16 hours a day for 10 days straight. And, you're 30 Ks in, you've struggled to get your first meal down of the day, and you're thinking,
I've got another 9.5 days of this.
I've got another 9.5 days of this. And mentally that really hurt me. And it wasn't until I got to the 50K mark on day one that I started to lighten up a bit. And I was like, man,
I got this.
Yeah, it was like, I got this, but it's also like, when else will I ever get to do this? Will I ever get to have some crazy guys following me around and helping me achieve something that I want to achieve? And when else will I get the opportunity to try and raise as much money as possible?
It seems like you're really driven by these crazy challenges. Do you think that these hard challenges, because you mentioned like 42 Ks, like a marathon for 23 days, like you said, is still hard, but it's obviously not as hard as the 100K a day. Do you think you associate yourself with trying to make challenges really hard, like a lot harder, and that's who you are as a person? Like, do you think you'll ever go the shortcut way?
No, I don't think so. Okay. I don't think so. Like, if I wanted to run to Sydney to Melbourne, the reason I didn't take the Hume because I thought that would be a boring run. I wanted to do 1,000 Ks. That's awesome. Why we went the
yeah.
I wanted to, like, obviously I didn't get it, but I think, when I really think about it, all of the things that I do in my life is to tell a great story to my grandchildren one day. That's all I want. Yeah. I want to get to 80 and say, I did this, and this, Antarctica, Africa, Europe. Like, I've done all these things.
Pop was amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's just,
it was crazy back in the day.
Yeah. I don't want to get to 80 and look back and think, oh, like I had the opportunity to go from Sydney to Melbourne, but I didn't. I had the opportunity to raise money for the Black Dog Institute, but I didn't want to, or I didn't feel like it, or I had the opportunity to pay extra money on our mortgage, so we could have moved to that farm, but instead I was lazy. Like, it's those things that I want, just the craziest stories possible.
Will you ever try to attempt it again, Sydney to Melbourne?
Everything I've done since then is with the goal to do it again.
Okay, that's awesome.
Like, I don't know when it'll happen, because it's expensive, and two, I need to be so much better still. But this whole year, all I've focused on is building speed.
Yeah.
I want to shift to Antarctica. I want to know, when you were in Africa, probably the last place that anyone would come up with the idea of running a marathon in Antarctica. How did you come up with the idea to go to Antarctica to run a marathon whilst you were working in Africa? What were the temps in Africa when you were considering? I want to know, when it was 40 degrees out, were you so hot that you thought, you know what, I'm going to do a marathon, but I'm so hot here, I'm going to just go down to Antarctica and do it there so I can cool off a bit?
Yeah, hilarious. It was stinking hot in Africa.
Yeah.
But it was so humid, so hot all the time. But it was awesome, like such a cool experience. But regardless of that, no, I just looked up what is the hardest marathon in the world. And I found that one. It was probably one of the top of the Google searches. And I said, fuck it, that's it. That's going to be my hard thing.
How long did you train for it?
I had basically all year. So I think I booked it in February, March, roughly, maybe May. And then it wasn't until December that I actually got there to do it.
Yeah.
So I was never per se worried about the distance. I was only, it was sort of like a symbol of, one, a crazy cool story I get to tell for the rest of my life, and two, just like something that I can pin myself to and say, I'm just going to dedicate everything to this. And part of that was it had to be crazy because I wanted to raise money for charity. And 2, it had to be just a cool story to tell.
That's really cool because it's like David Goggins. He just searched up the hardest ultra marathon in the world, and he just went, "Oh, bad water." Like it's exactly like that. That's awesome.
Did you find that like from a training perspective, how did you mentally, or did you even think about how hard is this going to be? Did you think about any of the logistics around how you're going to be able to acclimatize to such shitty conditions? Or did you just go, you know what, I'm just going to train the legs and I'm going to get strong, and then whatever will be when I get down there?
Yeah, basically that. I figured I'm in Africa. Like I'm working in Mali, West Africa. I'm working 12-hour days for 6 weeks straight. And then I get to go back to Melbourne for a couple of weeks at a time. So I figured I'm literally never going to get cold adapted. So just throw that away. That's not even important. But all I can do is run kilometers and do things that are going to test my mind more than anything. And I thought if I can do those 2 things, no matter how long the marathon takes, it's only going to be a couple of hours to really suffer in the cold. And that's just what I did. So I tried to do the most mentally hard things in the lead up to it. And that's why, like I did like I said, like I did that 100K. So I landed from Mali, I think like a Saturday I can't even remember now. It must have been like a Friday. I landed from Africa, which is from Mali is like 50 hours or 55 hours of flying.
Wow.
Which is, it's disgusting. And then the next day, so I drove from Melbourne to Geelong and dropped water along the way. And then the next day I ran 100 Ks.
Far out. No wonder you got deep vein thrombosis. Like 50 hours of travel.
Oh, but I wasn't working in Africa once I got that DVT before Sydney to Melbourne. So I don't know what the hell happened there. That was just random.
What's something that you thought that would be the biggest challenge going into Antarctica, but actually wasn't?
I thought it was going to be cold, obviously. I thought that was going to be tough. But realistically, the cold wasn't that bad. The wind and the terrain was probably way worse.
Really? The terrain? Like, isn't it all flat?
Yeah, it's flat, but it's like running on a beach.
Yeah, okay.
It's like running on
is it?
sand. Yeah, at least it was for me. It depends. The weather conditions change every year.
What kind of shoes were you wearing? Like, did you have to wear spikes or anything like
No,
that?
I was just wearing trail shoes. Just normal trail shoes. Just some Asics.
Yeah.
Trabuco Max 2 or whatever they are. Which was fine. They were good enough. My toes were cold, but they were fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just because it was really windy that day, I think it was only really -5, and then it was -25 with the wind chill. So the wind was hectic. And basically you're running more or less in a square, but the 2 ends were diagonal instead of straight. So for 3 legs of the square, it felt like you were running into the wind. And for 1, you had it on your back.
Oh.
And the one that you had it on your back was the shorter side.
Oh, no way.
But what was really good about that was I was definitely not a very strong runner compared to some of the people that were there. But just that wind just absolutely broke people down. And I credit that win to me coming 4th in that race.
That's pretty incredible. And it was about 4 hours that you ran that.
Yeah, 4:23.
Yeah.
The guy who won it, I think, did it in 4.
That's incredible. A lot of people don't realize how quick that is, especially on essentially what you were just saying, sand, and in Antarctica, and with the wind and stuff like that. So you were moving pretty well.
Yeah, I was feeling pretty good. I've reflected on this a lot in the last couple of weeks, particularly because since Sydney to Melbourne, like I've done Sydney to Melbourne, then I did Search for Hurt, and then did Melbourne Marathon, failed at all of them. And like I've thought about why I failed and why it's not been a good day out for me on any of those things. And mostly Melbourne Marathon was the one that I've reflected on the most. And I've thought about every race that I've done that I've been really proud of my achievements and I've felt like have been major successes are always races that I've had 0 expectations of. Whereas Sydney to Melbourne had this huge expectation that I was going to complete it, but that was a little bit separate because I got to endure that failure well. It was a good failure. Search for Hurt, I didn't have a whole lot of expectations, but I definitely didn't perform the way that I wanted to. And then Melbourne, I had high expectations and I performed terribly. And I just thought, what the hell is going on here? And when I really thought about it, my expectations were way too high. And all the events that I had no expectations of, I just killed them, like destroyed them. And I think Antarctica was one of those because I looked at all the guys around me and I thought, oh, he's like 240, 250, 3-hour marathoner. The best I had done before that was like a 334. And that was in the lead up to Antarctica.
Yeah.
And my expectation was nothing. It was just like, let's just go and race. And I love racing. I mean, racing is one of the most fun things ever. Like taking souls and trying to catch people, having people battle with. Like it's so much fun. And when you immerse yourself in that fun, I just feel like I do so much better.
Yeah. So yeah, taking the pressure off. Ollie can attest to that. He's always taking so much. And you're right. You're 100% right. When you're going into events and you feel like the whole world is on your shoulders, you struggle. And it's just one of those. I think it's more of a stressing. You're kind of going in there stressed.
Do you even think the factors coming into Antarctica, it's a new place, it's Antarctica, it's going to be epic, that took the pressure off?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's kind of like, when you do a trail run, it's not like a flat marathon. It's not like I'm going for a 255. It's more like I'm going to push myself as hard as I can.
Yeah.
Where, that's why I think trail running and road running is so different, because it's not like you're going for a specific time. Like people might say, oh, I'm going for a sub 24 or something, but like sub 24, you could be hours before and that you really have no idea how you're going to perform on the day.
It's funny.
Yeah, with a marathon, you tend to, it's like you might be a minute over or minute under, and it's like that hinges how happy you're going to be.
Exactly.
It's like, 259 or something like that. You're like, yes, I'm wrapped off 301. Oh, I'm just devastated.
Yeah.
It's 2 minutes, but then you're right. You do a trail event. I find that it's you're going there for the experience, whereas with a marathon, it's everything has to line up perfectly as soon as you switch to trails, you tend to you're out in nature, but what you realize is that there's so many variables, and you soon realize, far out, I can't control all this. Whereas in a marathon, you can pretty much control everything. So
yeah, that's a really good point.
Your Antarctica reel went absolutely nuts that you created. It was a pretty cool reel. Like you told the whole story really well. When you first posted that, where were you thinking that, this is some pretty cool content, I'm going to get a heap of views and a heap of people reach out to me? Or we kind of briefly talked about it before the podcast, but for the listeners, like how was that experience when you first hit it and it's just like exponentially going up?
Yeah, it's a hard, like I knew that reel was going to do well only because that was part 3 that blew up. Part 1 did really well. Part 2 did okay. Like way better than, I think when I went to Antarctica, I had maybe 500 followers and I'd spent the entire year producing content. Like every week was a wrap up of my training, and then talking about, I had people sponsor my kilometers throughout the year. So the more kilometers I ran, the more money they would donate, obviously. But I'd tell them what I thought I was going to run that week. So I wasn't jiffing them too hard. But like that whole year, I was making content, 1, to keep accountable, but 2, because I wanted to raise as much money as possible. And, you spent all year doing stuff, and then you have a couple reels do crazy. And that one particular, the Antarctica one, I think it's at 2.5 million now. And I got like 8,000 followers from it. So I went from 500 followers to 8,000 or something. And I was like, what the hell? This is crazy. And before that, I think you look at the Instagram and you just think it's cool. It's fun. This is just my way of remembering and keep myself accountable and sharing the things that have helped me. And then when you have a bit of success, and like when you really think of the grand scheme of things, like you got about a bee's dick worth of success. Brand deals, I'm ready, I'm the man, like followers, people are telling me I'm awesome, and you think you're so cool. I'm like, this is great, and like, man, I'm not going to be a Sparky anymore, that's it. And
you go and quit your job.
Yeah, exactly. You think
Post the next reel.
Yeah, you think, honestly,
300 views.
I thought I was the man. I was like, and then I don't know, it was really interesting because it took me from thinking oh, this is just like cool to like, oh, maybe I should like start getting emails and growing a following and like, how can I monetize? It's like, shut up, bro.
You're not that good.
No,
That's what you think.
exactly. And it was an interesting week because I'd never experienced anything like that. I think anyone who has a real blow up at least once, like anything to the standard of 1 million views, you're like, whoa, this is crazy. And is like whenever you open your Instagram and it's like 100, you're like, what the hell? That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a funny story. Me and Alex actually go way back, like a couple years, maybe 3 years ago now, at Maroondah Dam 42K. And it's funny because I think when I see people out in public, I'm like, I'm never gonna see this guy again. And now Alex is here. He's in my He's on the podcast. It's funny how things go, like just
full circle.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I remember one day looking on social media and this video popped up. I'm like, this Alex. I remember because there was 2 Alexes. I'm like, this Alex kind of reminds me. And I go back to the results of Maroondah Dam 42K. I'm like, no, this is Alex Cleary. And I'm like, oh, he's grown so much. He's got 20,000 followers. What the hell happened to this guy? And it's insane. I just find it so crazy how this whole thing works.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, that was pretty funny race. That was my first trail I'd ever done. And I remember I rolled into like a running store and I was like, what do I need? Like, I've just signed up this week. It's next week. What do I need to do the event? And they gave me some nutrition and they gave me some salt tablets and they gave me a vest. And
a pat on the back.
yeah, and they said good luck or something like that. And at that time, like, I didn't know anything about any nutrition. I'm still not like that well versed, but I remember that race and I was thinking I was doing great. And I remember passing Ollie at one stage. I think you got lost maybe.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
I was looking on the map. I'm like, I actually tried to cut across and I was going to go bush bashing because I thought I was on the wrong track. And you passed me.
I came up behind you and because I was pretty chill on the way up because the Maroondah's that up and back pretty much.
Yeah.
And on the way back, I was like, I'm taking souls. I'm doing great. I don't need nutrition. Goodbye. And then I remember I was about maybe not even a kilometer from the finish line and I collapsed. Like I needed sugar so bad. And that probably the last 5Ks or something, I thought, yeah, I'm dropping the hammer. I'm smashing it.
Because it's all downhill too. I'm bang.
Yeah.
Quad smashing.
I was killing. Like I was passing so many people on that way back, and then I just fully collapsed. And I think you passed me at one stage, and I was on the side, and some hikers gave me a picnic and like a muesli bar, and that brought me back to life enough to like pretty much walk back to the finish line. But I fully collapsed. I had literally nothing in the tank. That was such a good learning
That's an experience you take away from trail running.
You did 7 marathons in 7 days, which it's bloody tough. That's real hard to do. I've attempted similar things in the past, and the mental side of it's so hard. What was the hardest thing about that challenge? Because I watched a little video clip of you. You were actually quite emotional in parts of it as well, like doing that challenge and finishing it and stuff like that. What did you find the hardest thing about that?
Well, just to touch on that, I love that emotional side of running. Like you run so much that you exhaust yourself so much that you just become like a little ball of tears. I don't know what it is about ultra running, but it really like brings that out of me. And I don't know, that marathon a day for 7 days I love that challenge. That was so much fun, but it was really tough, particularly I think there was day 5 or 6 or something, or day 5 and 6 where just my knees were just killing me. And I think day 6, I had to walk like probably 12 Ks of it because it was just so wrecked. But yeah, I don't know. It was just the monotonous of just running and running and running.
Were you working at the time as well?
I was working in Africa at the time. So, obviously I was in Australia when I ran that. So I was off for 2.5 weeks before I'd fly back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what the hardest part was. At that time, I didn't know much about nutrition as well. So I definitely wasn't fueling right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just
in the deep end straight up.
Yeah, just in the deep end pretty much. And I'd done the Wonderfalls the weekend before. So I did the Wonderfalls on the Sunday.
What distance did you do there?
The 52. And then that was my first trail ultra. And then the Monday I started. And then I think was that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I must have flown out Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember. Back to Africa.
That's nuts.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it was a good one. That was probably just the pain of it was probably the thing that I learned the most.
Do you
Or
even
is that
find
the-
like this pain brings you a new perception on like a lot of other things in life?
I think so. I mean, I think that's why a lot of us do ultra running. We do it and then we realize, oh, that wasn't so hard. Or that was so hard, I think I can take the trash out. Like, you know what I mean? Like it really does put things into perspective.
Yeah.
But especially when after sitting in Melbourne, like I've never experienced pain like that before. And I remember specifically on day 3, that was really one of the hardest days. I woke up and I was just stuffed from the absolute get-go. And it wasn't until maybe the 80K mark where I just said, like I spent the whole day crying. The whole day the guys were just pushing me to go further, to keep going. The whole day was just, we were nowhere near our targets. It was probably one of the hardest days of my life. And like to go through that and then the very next day wake up in the exact same pain, in the exact same state, but completely new mindset. So day 4 started and I had the exact same pain. I had to walk the first 5 or so Ks until my joints limbered up a little bit, until my knees, I could just put a bit more pressure on them. But the whole day for day 4, apart from the last 20 Ks, which I really went downhill, but that first 80 Ks, I was like, I did this yesterday. Like, this isn't that hard. But exact same pain levels. Maybe if not worse, I was just like, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the essence of, I did something so astronomically hard, I can do this as well.
Yeah. This is a little deeper question that I just thought of when you're talking about pain. Do you think that ultra runners, when your ability to push so far into that pain is slightly, you almost have this ability to push that far because there's possibly been pains in your life that you're able to push that far because they're never going to be as hard as like a tough time in life or something that you might have gone through?
Yeah, I think so. If you look at almost all of the ultra running community, most people come from some sort of background where maybe they were a loser, maybe they weren't doing the right things. Like, how many people come into the ultra running community that come from a great life? Like, that come from wealthy parents, that come, like, I would say that's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is. I think there's just that. And even in the same sense of, you know, ultra runners are generally older people. And I wonder if the reason they're older and the reason they're better when they're older is because they've gone through way more hardship than when you're younger.
Yeah.
And that time when you're 170 Ks into down under and you're thinking, why do I do these things? But I must keep going.
Yeah.
I think when you're 17, you just say, I'm done.
Yeah.
But when you're 42, you say, I am going to prove to my family that this is who I am. I am the man that I say I am.
Yeah.
And I will push through this because I have worked a job that I've hated for 20 years to support my family. Like, this is nothing. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know what it is about. I think males really have this gene or this perception of like we were born to suffer and we were born to suffer for our families. I don't know if that's even real, but I feel like men in history are expendable and suffer specifically for reasons that are sometimes silly. And I kind of feel like we're born for it.
Like I sometimes have this thought where it's like because it's not a sacrifice. I don't feel like I'm sacrificing like the suffering. I'm prepared to suffer for my family and all those kinds of things. And it's not a sacrifice. It's my duty almost.
Yeah.
To go, I will stand in front and I will set the example. I will do those things. I will do the crappier jobs, right, so that my family can eat and do all those things. And even setting an example, like, you know, obviously with running and stuff like that. It's like I will show you that how far you can go, so that your starting line is where mine ends.
Yeah.
Almost.
And I even think as well with Dad, a lot of that motivation comes from showing me and Mish, my sister, like what is possible. like what you just said. Like
Yeah.
nothing's impossible. If Dad's able to push these limits, why can't I? And I think that really helps me as well, is knowing how far you can go. And obviously, I'm gonna want to be better than Dad someday. And it's like, God, it's hard, hard shoes to fill. But
Oh,
I
geez,
mean,
thank you, mate.
it's just it's an amazing thing when you have someone to look up to like that, and is
Well, I think your parents, you're always looking up to your parents. Like they're the example that who sets your radar essentially, or where you're going to go in life. And it's very hard. Or if you've got people around you, or like in other cases, you might have to, do it the hard way and find your own motivations and your own people who motivate you. But
they're
yeah,
the people you trust essentially the most. It's
Yeah.
you look at them, it's like that's what I do. Monkey see, monkey do.
yeah.
It's
I wanted to get back to Ultraman. I watched a really cool clip of you talking about how that kind of race went from the swim, the bike to the run. And it was almost like a metaphor for life where you went from one thing and then you had some issues and then you went to the next thing. And then by the end, you kind of let go of the fact that it was a race, and you met a competitor, Adrian, on that at Ultraman. How did that like chance encounter change your perspective on what that event meant to you?
Well, for me personally, I'd never learned to swim in my life, and swimming has always been like a huge fear for me, like just not being able to touch the bottom. Scared shitless of it. So the reason why I signed up for Ultraman to begin with was because I wanted to conquer that fear. Because I thought, you're real tough. You're doing all these running events, but you're shit scared of being in the ocean. You know what I mean? So for me, the first day was like the biggest test, was doing the 10K swim. And I felt like anyone can ride a push bike. It's not that hard, especially if you can run. So it was kind of like, it was the hardest it will ever be day one. It was medium day two, and day three, I finally get to do something I'm pretty good at, or substantially better at than the other two. And I don't know, coming into day three, I felt like I just want to rip the head off this thing and go to town. But then as you do, it's an 84K run that last day, and I'm doing 42Ks. And my idea was, I'll just cruise for 42 and then just drop the hammer, see who I can tear up on the way back. And I started the race, and I sat beside Adrian Copeland for the whole 42Ks. We were cruising on a really nice pace. I think we were doing about 6-minute Ks, which felt really nice. And obviously, it's 42Ks. You're not going to just stand there in silence. And we spoke along during the event, and I was like, Adrian's basically had the exact same life as me. And now, he's doing exactly what I'm doing, more or less. He does it to a much greater standard than I do. He's done some crazy events. But yeah, it just made me realize, I'm having this great conversation. Why would I try and because I thought the whole time, I'll just hang out with Adrian. As soon as we do the turnaround point, I'm just going to boost these last 42Ks and see how we go and race. But realistically, once you get to that turnaround point, I'm like 30 hours into a race.
There's no turning on the jets.
Yeah, even that, like if I was to save 30 minutes of the race time, okay, so instead of a 32-hour race completion time, now it's 31 and a half. Crazy. You know what I mean? Like it's you're not achieving anything. Yeah. And realistically, it's more impactful for me to stay with Adrian and complete the race together. We spent, I don't know how many hours we spent over that first 84Ks, where our crews are spending time together. We're spending time together. We're sharing foods. We've got watermelons. I'm showing Adrian, I'm like, Adrian, bro, meat pies, they're great for ultra running. I'm showing Adrian, I'm like, mate, olives, they're great for ultra running. Try them. It's good palate cleanser. And we're having laughs the whole way. We're talking about, particular things that have happened in our life. Just like any ultra race, you basically pull up every demon you have and you start sharing them.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what's the point of turning on the jets? Maybe I beat a couple extra people in this last couple Ks, but what's the point in that?
Enjoy the experience.
Yeah, like that's what it is.
That's cool.
What's the lesson that you've learned from being with Adrian? Like, were the chats there? Did he teach you anything?
Oh, Adrian has a really, really interesting perspective on life, I would say. He's a really interesting guy. It's sort of like he has come to what I do now at maybe a little bit later in life, but he's got a lot more money than I do, so he gets to do all the cool events.
He gets to go to Antarctica every year.
Yeah, no, he's done some crazy, because straight after Ultraman, he went and raced Fink. And then after that, I can't remember what he did, but he's just done Arizona Monster 300.
That's awesome.
He did what's that one in Canada? I think it's a 200 miler, Big Bear or something.
Oh,
Bigfoot. That's the one.
Okay.
Like, he's done all these awesome events, and he just has this perspective of, I'm only here once. Let's grab life by the balls and do the craziest things possible. And
that's pretty cool.
like,
That's how you
I
should
respect
take
that
it.
a lot.
Yeah.
What's one thing that you think running can help people with, both improving their mental, physical self?
I think running, like anything endurance wise, is just a vessel to take you to somewhere that you want to be. Like, well, it doesn't have to be running. It could be high rocks. It could be cycling. It could be anything. All these things, these endurance sports or these activities, they produce a community of like-minded people. They produce something that's really hard. If you can do hard things, and like we said, taking out the garbage is not a big deal. Doing a little bit of extra work at work to get that raise is not a big problem. So you do hard things. It produces like endorphins from just doing exercise. Like, there's nothing better than exercising. And it produces goals. I mean, being able to say, all right, I want to go to King of the Hill. I want to be up there with the top 5. I might be nothing, but I want to be there at the top 5. So whether I'm ever even going to come close to achieving that, just the idea of how can I push myself to be in the realm of being possibly there is like huge.
But even like looking at yourself, you're happy, you're improving.
You look good, you feel good.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I mean, for me, running is being that vessel, and it could have been anything. But from that, it's changed everything. I mean, I don't drink, I don't smoke. I have the most beautiful fiance ever that I love wholeheartedly. We bought a house together. Like, everything in my life is awesome. You know what I mean?
How do you feel like on your fiance? Like, she's a bodybuilder and she's quite successful. Do you like having someone like that in your life, especially when it's your partner? Does that motivate you even more to go, you know what, I've got to pull my finger out. I can't slip because she's there, you know, showing me how it's done as well. And then when you've got two of you like that in the household, it's similar to when we had Tom and Mia on the podcast. They're just driving each other further and further. Do you find that?
I think there's that, but honestly, if she did nothing, I would be exactly the same. Because to me, well, I've said this to her so many times, like, I don't want Hannah to work ever again. Like, that is my goal personally. That is the goal that we share. Like, I want to be so successful that my wife can stay at home if she chooses, which she has, and look after our kids the way that we want to look after our kids. And like, that's my goal. And if that means I have to be an electrician for the rest of my life doing a job that I don't potentially love, I will do it. Like, I'm happy to suffer for the rest of my life to give my fiance the life that I believe she deserves, and that I think she believes that she deserves.
Yeah,
That's
So
beautiful.
But like, that's the way I see it. So
Yeah.
you know, I will eat shit for the rest of my life to give her everything that she wants. That's my opinion. And whether she's a bodybuilder or she's a runner or she does absolutely nothing, doesn't matter to me. To me, what's most important is that I give her everything. I think that's my personal opinion.
I guess her just being there motivates you to be the best.
Yeah, like, just for me, like, family is everything. Family, and I mean specifically like my immediate family, is everything to me. So to me, like, she doesn't need to do anything to push me. Just her being there is something I want to work towards. Like, I work so much fucking overtime. It's ridiculous because I want to be ahead on our mortgage. I want to renovate the house. I want everything to be right. So she doesn't ever have to worry financially. She doesn't ever have to think about, are we going to be okay? She doesn't have to think about the rates, bills. Like, that's my problem. I want to take all the stress away from her so she can focus on the things that she is better suited at than I am. That's my personal opinion. I will suffer as much as possible to make that a reality. Like, it fires me up. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, okay.
I will literally dig a hole for 50 years to make sure that my wife lives a great life. Like, that's the way that I feel in my heart.
Yeah. That's a really nice way of putting it, because and I think that's what most of us should strive for, having that tight knit family unit. And you know what, your kids will see that when you decide to have kids. I know that you posted something on Instagram the other day to stop mentioning kids, but when your kids see that, and then they'll be motivated to be those kinds of people. So you'll raise them to be good human beings.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I take so much. Like, I look at you and I think that's it. That's what I want. You know what I mean? Like, your relationship right here.
There are definitely moments.
You know what I was thinking as I was coming over? I knew that this portion would come up, and I knew you would say, yeah, but it's not always blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
but I think, like, shut up. Because to be able to have this podcast, to be able to have this relationship, everyone knows that there aren't the best times. But to be able to have this proves that there are very good times. And I think
that's a nice way of putting it.
I think you should step away from taking the point where you go, oh, yeah, and just accept that people look at your relationship and it's something that we idolize. Even speaking to Blaine Burke, he specifically mentioned your relationship with Ollie and hoped that he could have a relationship with his son the same way.
Oh, it's actually really nice to hear that.
You know what I mean? Like, that's something that people look forward to. And if you think about your board of directors in your life, there's people in your life that you might not ever speak to, but you go, I want this from their life. I want this from their life. And like, your relationship with Ollie and the rest of your family, obviously, is something that I look to and I say, that's something I want to incorporate in my life. I don't know how you go with, money. Maybe I wouldn't listen to you money. Maybe you're terrible at money. Maybe I'd listen to somebody else when it comes to money. Or maybe I'd listen to somebody else when it comes to investing, whatever it is. But, that's a aspect of your life that I would say people look at and they say, I want that in my life. How do I do that?
I've gotten into.
I don't know how to shift from that.
I know.
But thank you. No, that's very humbling.
This past couple of weeks, I keep going, mate, to that. And he's not liking that too much. He's like, I don't like it when you say mate, because you sound like you're like picking on your mates at school or something like that. You're having a go at someone.
Yeah, because it's not like you say.
I just wanted to shut up sometimes. I'm like, mate, I get it.
Yes, that's it. That's it. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's not, hey mate, how you going? It's, mate, I get it. Like,
because I get it, mate.
Yeah, I know. But sometimes you just got to listen to Dad's lectures. That's our privilege that we get to do that.
He over explains too much, and mate. All right,
because I explain it because sometimes it takes you 4 times. I have to explain it 4 times before you do it.
All right, mate. What do you reckon we get on?
More often you need to be reminded than told.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm sick of reminding. So is Mum. I wanted to talk about King of the Hill. The team around King of the Hill is amazing. You're an amazing bunch of blokes. We spoke about it a little bit earlier. But how did you find yourself involved with those guys and King of the Hill?
Well, I think naturally, after meeting Ethan, wanting to spend more time with him and try and bring him into my life, vice versa, we get along pretty well. The first year in 2024, I came to King of the Hill, I did one loop, and then I volunteered for the rest of the time. But obviously, like, I'm good mates with Ethan, and now the rest of the guys obviously as well. So I was always going to be volunteering for King of the Hill for the rest of my life, probably. But then the opportunity just came about where they just have too much going on. And I was looking for something to put my teeth into. And Ethan just reached out one day and said, look, we're struggling with Get Going, Hardcore Harry, King of the Hill. It's too much for us. And really the result of that was King of the Hill sales weren't doing well. And purely just because they had no time to devote to it, where they said, can you come in, help us out, be a part of King of the Hill? And that's sort of just how it happened, which is good. I mean, everything to do with Harry's is why I'm such a big fan of Ethan and the guys.
You guys are so passionate. Like, it's, and it's addictive that people want to be around you guys because it's all about the people that are running the events. It's about the people's experiences and stuff like that. And it's not, from my perspective, it's not about the money. It's about creating a community and an atmosphere that people just want to be a part of. You can see it. Like, I mean, you guys are almost you got more people signed up like a month later after the event than what you did that came to the event already, and we're still 11 months away.
Yeah, no, it's been the roll-on effect from it has just been crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, we're at 187 tickets sold now. The first release is next weekend, where we're going to do a live stream for it. But like, bro, to sell tickets for 2025 was so hard. I probably personally messaged 300 to 400 people to give them a discount to buy a ticket for King of the Hill 2025. Like, the effort that went in to just get this event off the ground and then to have it actually be so successful. Because it's like, I know what the event is. I know how good it is. And I need you to come to the event so you know how good it is.
Yeah.
And it was so challenging to sell the tickets for 2025. It's just it's like a breath of fresh air now that there is some actual demand for the event.
Oh, yeah. I reckon you guys, once that goes live, you guys will sell out real quick. And because people could just see how good was the live stream. Like,
Well, I want to talk about your success from the event. Like, you had the live stream, your commentary was amazing. It was obviously because your voice, but the drones, the footage, the doco, the everything. Do you think it was more successful than what you ever thought it could be?
Oh, 10x easy. I mean, like, when the majority of this year has been spent trying to sell tickets for King of the Hill, I've had barely any time to think about how we can execute on what we've promised. So then the live stream basically got put in my lap, and I was like, all right, I've got to learn all these things. But one of the points that I always said from the start was like we need to sell tickets for King of the Hill at King of the Hill. Like, we need to have a great discount for the athletes that are there, and we need to have an offer for the live stream. But similar to races, I had no expectation of if anybody would buy a ticket or if they even cared. And then to have, I think we sold 155 tickets during the event. Bro, do you know how hard we had to work to sell 155 tickets for 2025? To sell that 12 months out was crazy. I didn't think that was even possible.
yeah.
Like, we spent $20,000 on advertising for 2025 to sell the tickets. We sold basically the same amount of tickets, $0 spent on advertising.
That's awesome.
And like,
That's because people were watching it and going, oh my God, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah. Do you think, is there a next level up with the whole media aspect of things for King
There's
of the
always
Hill?
a level up. We're not even close to where we should be.
Okay.
Not even close. Like, the thing is, like, coming into 2025, well, I would say this. Like, if you look at a normal event and then you look at us, completely different. And the reason it's completely different is we're prepared to risk so much more than the average event. And the reason we're prepared to risk so much more is because we believe in this, and we believe in putting the athletes first more than anybody else. And not to say that other events don't put athletes first, but there's a difference between putting athletes first and believing wholeheartedly in what you're trying to achieve, that you go out of your way to risk things that most people wouldn't risk. Like, coming into 2025, we didn't have any money. No money. Like, Piotr's $25,000, didn't have it. The money to pay the tattooist, didn't have it. The money to pay the landowners, didn't have it. We had $0. All of our money was spent getting the stuff to the event and then selling the tickets for the event. And then dragging losses forward from 2024, we had $0. So we were going to go into debt to pay the winners. And that was just the risk that we were taking. So then to sell 155 tickets, we didn't have to go into debt. Thank God. But like, that's the risk that we're willing to take to produce the craziest event possible. I mean, I don't know anybody else who's going to put up $25,000, and I don't know anyone else who's going to take the risk of putting up money that they don't have.
What's the next risk?
There's always risk. I mean, we're still dragging losses forward. So we haven't made any money from King of the Hill because we put all the money into the athletes.
And that's what you want. You want that in
Well,
in
they
an
don't
event.
want.
You're right.
We enjoy the experience
I
because
just
you
think
can see
yeah.
it, and that's why, like, when we did the podcast about King of the Hill, I'm like, this is the best. These guys got, like, I was impressed with the tops. I was just impressed with everything, and it's because you guys have to risk everything to make that happen. Like you're creating an experience on a shoestring budget, and hoping that no one notices that you're on a shoestring budget. But it's pretty incredible. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the experience. And I think this year was so successful that we were so surprised how successful it was. And I think, like I said, we didn't have expectations of how successful it was. Like we knew it was going to be good because we knew the event is great. Like it brings out the best in people. I don't think we realized how much traction we'd get on the live stream. We didn't realize how much traction we'd get on the content. Like we have these ideas of 3 pieces of content minimum per hour, live stream 24/7. Live stream needs multiple cameras. We want the drone. We want this. We don't know if it's going to pay off, but we're putting our money there. And like shoestring budget, absolutely, we're putting our money where we can.
Yeah.
Like we bought a drone for the event. We couldn't afford to buy the drone, but I knew that we needed the drone. We had to sell the drone after the event.
That's a shame.
Like that, but I mean, we'll get another drone, but like we couldn't afford to keep the drone. We had to sell it because we had to go into debt to make some of these things happen. And it was only because we sold so many tickets that we could actually pull off a lot of these things. And that was just pure luck.
I wanted to ask you, because you were in the commentary tent majority of the time at the event and stuff like that. What and it was cool. Like I went back, watched some of the footage, watched some of the interviews from people, and it's coming. Some of those clips are coming out on Instagram now. Who was your favorite story that you've seen? I know this is hard. It's gonna be hard, right? But who was one of your favorite stories? Because there was so many people in those first 24 hours that. Like I watched back some of that footage, and geez, that some people were in pain. There was a guy coming down on almost like a really stretcher thing, and Sam was saying that I think he hurt his back or hammy or something like that, helping that guy down. It was funny. But what were some of your more memorable stories from watching that?
Yeah, there's so many tough ones. That was Jakey Stingray that got carted down the hill. He came in with seconds to spare that lap beforehand and got convinced to do another one. But he came across the line limping. And, you know, he got given a free ticket actually, because I want to say he walked from Gippsland all the way to Uluru or something ridiculous like that to raise money for, I believe, some mental health charity. Like, he's a great story. And I'm glad that we got to give him a free ticket. But it's just so many like really inspiring ones. Like Katie Washington, she came across the line from lap 7 and she was coerced every lap to do another one until I think she timed out on lap 10. And she came across the line bawling her eyes out.
I've seen that footage.
Absolutely bawling. She walks back to her chair and she's just screaming with excitement. She's just so proud of herself. And I know after the event, she's reached out to us and she's been like one of our biggest supporters now. I don't want to say too much, but that event meant so much more to her than you could possibly even imagine. And that's a pretty special story.
Yeah.
Because, you know, she didn't come there to win money. She just came there and she dedicated so much of her life to our event, and she came away with more than she could have imagined. And honestly, the messages that we've received, not only from her, but from other people of what the event has been to them is really special. It's something that it makes me go, I could do this forever for free. That's how impactful it is to me when I see those messages.
Yeah, it must feel good when people reach out.
It's
and
Like
say,
your event.
You changed, and because they're speaking to you, like you've created the event, but they're speaking to you guys essentially and saying, you guys changed my life. I can't believe that and because you created that environment, and that environment where people continually push each other out and give me, no, you can keep going. No, you can keep going. You can't simulate that in any other environment apart from a race or event like that, because no one's in those moments. We're not racing each other. I found that the same thing. I'm not. I know Gaddy's one of my biggest competitors, but yeah, I know what he wants. I want to help him get what he wants because I knew that he'd be like, oh no, I can't. So you're pushing these people out. It's an amazing feeling when you're kind of because you're not competing. You're just all trying to find your own limit, and wherever that lands, it lands.
I've been talking to Dad recently about how there's so many levels to being a content creator, social media and everything. Because you think, I've made this thing. I made this cover. It's amazing. It's awesome. And Dad's like, I'm like, what do you mean? It's perfect. but there's so many levels to it. It gets better, better, better. And I find even now, I think, oh, how can it get any better? But it just does. You find that with all this King of the Hill social media stuff, with all you promoting yourself, do you find that these skills over time has like developed your creativity?
Yeah, I think you just start to refine the things that you want to do. I mean, like, it's like you do an event, this worked well, this didn't work well, this was shit, this was great. Let's do more of that, let's do less of that.
Just post everyone coming across the line sleeping. That's all you got to do. You
Yeah,
get
exactly.
millions of views.
And that's the thing. It really is volume at the end of the day for things like that. And yeah, it's hard. I mean, I think the reason why the live stream particularly did so well is just because people see how much we care. Because it's not only me in there. There's also Ethan and Ash and Sam, the 3 brain cells in the morning. Like, there's so many beautiful moments. Like, Katie comes in and she tells us how amazing she felt. And then even there was another position, I think it was lap 28, Henry Dietz. We had Troy follow him up the hill because he was going to give up. He got coerced to another lap. And we just followed him for the whole lap pretty much. And just watching him for that first climb, like, if you go back on the live stream, I'm bawling my eyes out. And because, like, those moments, I feel like I'm right beside you. And it takes such a toll. Ethan was giving me shit. He's like, how many times are you going to cry on next year's live stream? But it's like you feel so invested. And if I'm feeling that, I can't imagine what people are feeling at home that have no idea what this thing is. And they're like, what the hell? What is he doing?
Yeah.
Like, you can see Henry he takes 1 step, 2 step, and he just stops. He just looks down. And he just looks up and he just takes another step. You're
feeling his battle.
You do, and he just stops. And you can just see him, and you're just like that right there, that is the moment that we're creating. And that's what's so important, because people don't know that moment. People don't, like, that moment of you have a hard run or whatever you push through. So many people in this world will never, ever, ever, ever experience that. And if I can show you that, or we can show you that on the live stream where you just watch Henry, he's just one more step, and he's just one more step. And then he gets to the top of that mountain and he goes down. And what does he do? He does it again. And he gets to the end of that lap and you think, there's no way he can go another one. But he does. He goes another one and you just think, how can he do that? How can he, and he gets to the bottom of the hill on lap 30 or 29 or something. He looks directly into the camera because he hasn't left with water. And he goes, I'm just going to have to do David Goggins here. If you're thirsty, lick your lips, motherfucker. And he goes up the hill again. And you're just like, isn't that just so beautiful? Like, he was this close to giving up. With every step, you can see it. You can see it on the camera. He's just like, and you know, like you might not be him, but you know in his head, he's just going, give up. But he's not. He's just taking another step. And when you can show that to an audience, they're like, what the fuck is that? How do I do that? How do I feel that moment where some random guy who barely knows Henry Dietz is sitting in a commentary box, bawling his eyes out, watching him go up a mountain? You know what I mean? Like, how...
Yeah, and everyone wants, because they're all looking at him and going, I want to be that character.
I want to feel
watching,
that.
Yeah.
I want to feel that. I want to feel what it's like to push myself to the limit and go further.
Yeah.
Because most people in this world, they will never, ever feel that. They will never, ever feel that. We're in the 21st century. Most people would rather not do that, would rather choose the easier option, would rather Uber Eats and sit back on the couch. But that feeling, that whatever that is, that untangible item that you get within yourself when you push yourself past what you feel is physically capable, to give that to somebody, it's like the most beautiful moment ever.
Yeah.
And for people to feel that, and for me to know that you felt that, I'm done. Like, what? I can't put a price tag on that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's an awesome way of describing it.
Because that's what we do. You know what I mean? Like, as an ultra endurance athlete, or anybody who wants to push the limit, high rocks, whatever it is, you know that feeling. And for us to give that feeling to somebody who doesn't know that feeling, that is the feeling that will change someone's life.
100%.
You know what I mean? That's that feeling right there is a thing that someone goes, I'm never drinking again. Or what's next? You know what I mean? Antarctica, that's lame. What else can I do? You know what I mean? Like that's the thing that people get hooked on and they go, I need to get myself to down to do you know what I mean? Like I need to do those things again because that feeling, that is like, you never forget it. You'll get to 80 years old and people will say, oh, Tim, you did this. Oh, Tim, you did this. And you'll say, I was 170 kilometers into down under and I kept going. I had the worst feeling, but I felt it within myself that I could keep going. And that's what you'll remember at the end of your life.
Yeah.
And we get to give that to you.
Yeah. Jeez, if that's not the best promo for
Bro,
King
like,
of the Hill ever.
and that's
that is,
like all of us.
And you're 100% right.
We feel that. Like we want to give that to people. And the hardest thing is like, how do I advertise that to you so you can feel what we're going to give you?
Yeah.
And the live stream was so successful because I think some people felt that. They felt like, holy shit, what is that? I've never seen that before.
I mentioned it on the King of the Hill episode. Friends of ours, their parents were in their 70s, were watching the live stream and they'd gone to bed and one of them had woken up in the middle of the night to get a drink of water or something like that. And they're like, oh, I wonder if they're still going. And they flicked it on. You've got 70-year-old people watching in bed in the middle of the night watching the live stream because it was so engaging. Because you're right, you're telling these people stories. That feeling that you talk about, I reckon it's a very similar feeling when I look at when me and Ryan Crawford, like we'll catch each other at a race or something like that. We won't talk about it. You'll kind of catch him out of the corner and you know exactly what he's thinking. He's thinking, I remember when we went to hell and back for 24 hours at DU, and you'll be just like, and it's like this connection that you have. It's when we did it at Mirawerner, when we ran through the night, like you always mention that moment, and it's undescribable. But it's, you just know it. It's pretty cool.
They're some of the most proud moments you'll have until the day you die.
You always reflect on those moments and it's like, this is the best thing that I ever did. Yeah. And but it was the most painful thing I ever did too.
I think about the first day of Ultraman. Like once I got out of the water, I was so ecstatic. I thought I was the king of the world. And then I got on my bike and I couldn't breathe and I was struggling so hard. And all I was thinking was, if I just ride this push bike and do the closest tree possible, I don't have to finish this race and no one will say anything. But like, I know that feeling of getting past that and going further. And
it's like you want that feeling.
Yeah.
No matter what, you want that feeling. But you just don't want to work for it.
Yeah, you have to work so hard.
You got to work.
It.
You just don't. I'm like, I don't want to have to work that hard for it. And then that's when the emotions come out and you start crying and sitting by a rock and wanting to quit.
What were you like as a kid and like in teenagehood and everything? Were you this kid that was just misbehaved, or were you a little bit more mature than other people? How was that like? And then I use mature.
I can tell you right now, I was definitely not more mature. I would say like I was very sporty. You know, I played every single sport you can think of, from mixed netball to softball to touch to cricket to footy, all types of footy. Like I've done every sport. I love sport. And that was my entire childhood was, Mum, Dad, I'm going to play everything. We're going soccer, we're going footy, we're going softball. And like my mum was really good at softball and that was sort of our family sport. I wish it was baseball, probably could have made some money out of it. But yeah, I was always really sporty. So growing up, softball was everything. I played all across the country, a little bit in Canada and America. Like I loved it so much. But then as soon as I got a little bit older, and I would say I was probably pretty extroverted as well. Like I always liked to be the best, the fastest, the loudest. That was always my character. But then as soon as like alcohol and partying got mixed in, which in a place like Mount Isa was really young, probably started drinking like around 14 or so. And as soon as that got into the mix, well, all of those things that made me a really good athlete then made me a loser, pretty much. I always wanted to be the drunkest, the loudest, the best fighter. Like Mount Isa is like that.
Did you ever just have a dream? Like this one dream, like you say that you have now, you want your fiance to never have to work again. But did you have this dream when you were a kid?
Oh, I think like any young guy that's good at some sort of sport, I just always wanted to be a professional athlete.
Yeah.
And I always think back on it, and I wish I played a sport that made money, because I feel like I had the drive to go that far, but I took that drive and put it into a sport that doesn't pay any money. So like I played softball for Australia a few times, and that was everything to me. Like I got a cross on my arm with a softball in it. Like softball was my religion. And I wish I could play it more often now, but I just don't have the time now. So I don't know if I ever really had one dream, but I always wanted to be a professional athlete. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, the quote.
I did have a quote. I had a really cool quote from Timothy Leary. Do you know who Timothy Leary is?
The name rings a bell.
He was a professor back in the 60s and 70s. He had a really cool quote. It was like, trust your instincts, do the unexpected, find the others. At what point do you think you're at? Do you think you're at that find the others stage?
Yeah, I think I mostly found the others. But I think the more I'm in this space, the better it gets. Like I didn't know of you at all until King of the Hill, pretty much. I think I knew of Ollie and I knew of you, but I didn't know your actual achievements. I just remembered you from Maroondah Dam, where you were like handing Ollie stuff and blah blah blah. And I reckon we might have even had like one or two words together.
Yeah.
There that obviously I don't remember.
Dad likes to encourage my competitors, and I reckon he was encouraging you.
I reckon you were.
Yeah. Well, you want to get the best out of yourself, don't you?
Yeah. Well, when I'm at Maroondah Dam this year, and he's encouraging second place, you got him. I'm like, Dad, shut up.
Hey, but it got the best out of you.
Yeah, but you won, didn't you?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I think I don't need lots of friends. I just need my fiance, and I need one or two. Like I don't need anything more than that. I'm really happy with the people that I have in my life. Like my brother lives 1 kilometer from me. My fiance and I spend all of our time together, and the rest of my time is devoted to stuff like King of the Hill. Or
Well, you're hanging out with mates anyway.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't really have a big circle, and I'm happy, obviously, to expand it, because the more I spend time in this King of the Hill, this Harry's, the more I meet such amazing people like yourself, like all the people from King of the Hill, Gaddy. Like all these people are new to me, and I'm not super well versed in the ultra community. So yeah, I don't know if I suppose maybe just still acquiring more people.
Yeah.
More people to look up to, really.
Is there a belief you held strongly in your early 20s and has since changed? And why?
Oh. Maybe just a belief that I held. I used to think that softball was going to be my entire life. So much so that I told an ex once. I was like, you will never be above softball. I thought that was my life. I thought everything.
And you wonder why it didn't last.
Yeah. She was such a lovely lady, and I was such a piece of shit. Honestly, I'm so sorry to any ex I ever had, because I treated them all like shit. I was a terrible person. And I think about that all the time, because I'm like, that's the mindset that I had. I was such an idiot to think that sport would ever be above your number one. You know what I mean? Which is crazy. I can't, I think about that now, and I think, softball is here. You will never be to me, that was my whole world, and everything to me was that. So,
but I honestly, I kind of see where you're coming from there, because even with me right now, I value my running so much over a lot of relationships. Like, granted, I'll spend a lot of time with my family, but than that, it's all running. But I have this dream,
but I reckon family will not hinder it, but accelerate it. Would you say, Tim, that you're a better runner once having kids or before?
100%. Like once you have, I don't want to say once you have someone to run for, because I wouldn't want to put my running on you guys, but yeah.
I would say you're putting them on the pedestal.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, when you're young and single, you might be running for achievements, but when you're a little bit older and have a family, you're running to prove something to your family. Yeah. And they don't even care, and they don't even know. Oh, but it's all in here.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I often look at like competitors that I come up against, and I'll be there at the start line, and it's not in an arrogance way, but I think that, they'll be patting themselves on the back, and they're like ripped and got no partner, no family. And I'm like, what are you going to do when it gets tough? When it gets really, really tough, and you're going to say, because there is no amount of pats on the back that when you're in that pain cave, you'll be like, I actually don't care what the guys at work think. I don't care what my Instagram looks like. I don't care about any of that. When you're in that much pain, you've got to have this why that's so strong that you're like, no, I'm going to empty that well. I'm going to make sure that there's nothing left.
That's why it was so beautiful when Gaddy pulled out and his son's there crying.
Oh yeah, that would have been the most emotional moment ever.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And that's like Sydney to Melbourne. If Ethan wasn't there, someone I hold Ethan on like the highest pedestal possible. If he wasn't there, I don't respect many people more, like even close to the way I respect Ethan. So then if he wasn't there,
Ethan is above softball.
So yeah, pretty much. Like
softball, you will never be above Ethan.
Exactly. I could have given up like days before that, but with Ethan there, I drained everything I had, and it's because I hold him to such a high regard. I don't want him to think that I'm a pussy.
Yeah.
I don't want him to think I've drained everything, not only for him, but that was like one of the biggest whys was like, what, are you going to be a bitch in front of Ethan? Are you going to show him that you're not this tough, that you can't empty the well? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think your family is a bit like that. Whether they even care or not, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Ethan wouldn't have cared if I gave up a day earlier. But for him, it was important for him to know that I knew that I gave it everything that I had.
Yeah.
And when you're in the pain cave, you don't care. You're like, I just want it to be over. I just want it to be done. But in retrospect, I'm glad that he was there to push me as far as I could physically go, because I look back on it and I have no sadness to fail, because that failure brought everything to me.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously you were in like a mining camp. What's something that you took away from that generally people wouldn't expect something that you would take away from an experience like that?
Oh, I mean, it's just monotonous work. Like,
Do you reckon that taught you to be a better runner essentially anyway?
I think it definitely taught me to be tougher. No doubt. Like I lived on a compound. I couldn't leave the compound. I would run a 1 kilometer loop around a dusty dirt track that went around a shit plant as well. That was our drinking water. So it's like I ran in the shittest conditions for 12 months pretty much. And you only work 12-hour days. It's the hottest you can possibly think it is. You're constantly got pressure on you to perform at work, because the thing with working in Mali or anywhere overseas in an offshore environment is like you are the end of the stop. Like if you can't fix it, no one can fix it, because your African locals, they're relying on you for everything. They don't know anything about electricity, more or less. They don't have any hand skills. And it's not their fault. They grow up in such an environment that you couldn't even comprehend the standards that they live in. And they rely on you to make sure that everything runs. So if something's broken, there is no, let me Google this, let me blah, blah, blah. Let me go give it to my cross shift. It's like it's you. It's only you.
Yeah, let me ring the place that brings the spares.
Yeah, there is no spares. And if you don't have the parts to fix it, it's 3 months on a boat until it comes from Australia.
Yeah.
So it's like either you fix it or you provide a solution. And part of that is like you're under that pressure. You finish work, you need to go run and do a 21K or a 10K or a 5K. And the last thing you want to do after sweating your balls off underground, or you've had to stay back to fix a machine, or you've spent all day arguing with Africans that the light needs to be here and not there. You know what I mean? Like, it's just all these things. Or they didn't understand what you said when you said, I need a PowerPoint here, and you left for an hour and they didn't understand PowerPoint, or they didn't understand that there needs to be conduit between them. They just put a cable, you know what I mean? It's like all those things that just mentally drains you, and then you just...
Does it teach you some patience?
Oh, bro, what a question. You have not. You just wait until you work for...
Bro, so much patience. But like you'd blow your lid every couple of days, because it's... As much as I loved the guys that I worked with, we had so many good times, but there's so many times when it's it's not like working with an apprentice. It's like working with someone who, one, barely understands what you say, two, doesn't understand any of the standards that you have, and three, don't really have the skills to perform at the level that you need. And you have to keep an eye on them all the time. And again, I'll say this till I'm black and blue in the face. It's not because they're poor tradesmen. It's because they just don't have the skills or haven't been taught the skills. And it's your job as an expat to teach them that skills. So, I mean, like I taught one of my apprentices or one of my tradies how to drive a car. I taught him how to drive a manual. Wow. That was one of the things I did on a night shift. I was like, that's the level that you're at. I'm giving these guys treats from where I'm eating so they can take them home and eat them at home, because they're literally sleeping in a tin shack with their family and their only source of a meal is lunchtime at work because we provide food. It's like they're living in standards you can't even comprehend. So it's like you have to take a step back a lot of the time and be like, the reason they don't understand how to drill this hole without destroying the drill is because they never learned. They never had someone take the time because no one gives a fuck.
Yeah.
So you have to, you're right, have a lot of patience and give a fuck.
Yeah.
Because it is really hard to just be like, I left you for 10 minutes, everything is destroyed. How did you break it in this amount of time? This is the only drill we have on site.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? Like that's the pace. So yeah, I mean, and then you deal with that during the day, and it is just part of the job. And there's a reason why you get paid so much to be in these conditions, to be in places that aren't safe, to work in these conditions. Like it's
You got to be resilient and super patient.
Yeah.
Like that's
and then to go and exercise after that is very hard. And I understand why most of the guys that do that are pissheads. And I was for the first swing that I was out there. But it's just part of the game. And it's like, it's why you get paid so much to be there.
Yeah.
Like I think before I got to the site that I was at, I think 6 people got shot up in a bus from my site, killed.
all right.
Like you're not, like when I flew into Bamako, which is the capital of Mali, I would be escorted if I didn't have a direct flight out, which would be on a little Cessna to a site. I would be escorted to a safe house with guys with M16s and AK-47s, and I wouldn't be able to leave the safe house. And I would stay there until we would get sent back to the airport to go on our Cessna to go to site. Because if you were to take the bus, there's a good chance you're going to get pulled over and killed.
Wow.
Just from the terrorism that there is in those
And
areas.
because you probably weren't a local.
Yeah, and because I was white. Straight up.
Yeah.
I stick out like a sore thumb in Mali.
Yeah. All right. That's
That's
crazy.
deep. That rhymes very deep.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stress over there. And I did it for 1 year, and it was something I really wanted to tick off my bucket list, because exactly the point, you go over there, it's a crazy experience. I get to tell these stories for the rest of my life. And there's so many stories I would never tell on a podcast that are hilarious, but also sad.
Yeah.
But there's so many great stories where I get to talk about, I got to teach one of the guys how to drive a car.
Yeah.
Or I got to teach them a couple English words, or they would teach me some French, or they'd teach me, what was it, Bumbra? They teach me some Bumbra. Can't remember any of it now, but there would be heaps of jokes like there. Lots of, just lots of laughs.
So it was worth it. It was worth going.
Oh, it was well and truly worth it. I mean, I bought my first house because of that, the money that I earned over there. I got crazy experiences. I got to see a whole different side of the world and a different place where, like, it's not recommended to travel. It's not recommended to be there alone. It's not safe. The standards aren't Australian standards. They're just whatever. And that's why people die over there all the time.
It'd make you appreciate what lifestyle we have out
Oh,
here.
mate. When I hear people complain about Australia, I think you just have no idea the rest of the world. And like, I felt this way when I left Australia just to travel. And I only did marginal traveling, really, like a bit of Europe, a bit of Southeast Asia, a bit of Canada. And I love Australia so much. I'm so passionate about this country. But there's nothing more passionate that you can get when you go to a third world country that is an absolute shithole. And you get to see, it's not like you go to some tourism board and you see a waterfall and blah, blah, blah. Like, you're seeing the guys who are sleeping in a tin shack that are coming to work, and they're having the African breakfast, which is condensed milk, coffee, and milk. And they're drinking that. That's breakfast. And they're asking you to, like, can of Coke, those guys will do anything for you. Dead set.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
I just go to the fridge.
I go and I'm paying out of my wage to get Coke for them. Like, I'll bring back a box of Coke, and like you'd barter with them. I'd be like, look, listen
If
here.
you put some conduit in.
No, dead set. I'd be like, Musa, if you guys can run this 100 meters of 120 mil cable down this drive, I will give you all a box of Coke because we have 2 hours to get it done. And like, I love Africans, but they don't work very quickly. You gotta dangle the carrot and boom, it's done for a carton of Coke.
Far out.
And like, they'll bust their ass in like the shittest conditions possible for a carton of Coke.
Wow.
And like, that's like the standards are just so terrible. Like, they're like, and like, I'm there working with them, but it's just like, oh, it's why you're paid so much. And to come back to Australia, and I mean, Melbourne, there's a protest every weekend, and I'm like, man, if you just spent 1 week, I love that saying, like, send your kid to Dagestan, 2-3 years forget. And I just think, send your kid to Africa, 2-3 years forget. And
2-3 weeks forget.
Yeah, 2-3 weeks. They come back and they will be so grateful for what this country is and what it offers.
Yeah, we
Should
do
be a
live in
punishment by law.
It should just be a part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
Go to Africa for a week. And that's why I love traveling so much, because I think people get to experience that without experiencing, you know, the worst parts of a country. You get to experience the nice parts as well.
Yeah.
But it really does put into perspective, like, we live in one of the greatest countries in the world.
Yeah, we do. We're super lucky.
And particularly, like, I love Victoria. I love that we have just everything on offer here. And it hurts my soul when I see people complain continually about how this country is terrible. And I just think, just honestly, you have no idea how great this country is.
Yeah, spend a couple of weeks in Mali and you'll soon find out.
Do you ever think, though, you were like that, though? You complained about this country?
Nah. I love this country. I've always loved this country. And I think, for me personally, like, I represented this country for softball, which is such a niche sport no one cares about. But there's something like in your heart when you put on green and gold and you face against Argentina, America, Mexico. You watch the haka get performed in front of you and you're standing arm by arm, and like, I'm feeling the goosebumps right now. And you're with your guys and you're looking at them and you're like, these guys aren't shit. Like, we are here to show our country's pride. And I think, like, that in my soul, I feel that. And I feel that when I talk about that, because I love this country so much.
Yeah.
So much. And when you go overseas, you go, yeah, this is cool. This is great. But this isn't in here.
Yeah.
That's where I feel it. And I feel I never, ever felt different to that. I've always loved this country. And I think it's because, like, I've represented Mount Isa, and then you represent Queensland, and then you represent Australia. And it's like, at every point along the journey, you represent a part of who you are, your hometown, your regional, your state. And then you go, you know, fuck New South Wales. We're Queensland, man. Like, we are who we are, and we are the way we are because we are where we are.
Yeah, and then you represent with
And
the
then
New
you
South Wales guys.
Yeah.
We're like, no, we're Australia.
Exactly. And like, every state feels the same way, I feel.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it is because that, or it is just where I'm from. I don't know. But I feel that everywhere I go, like, I'm so proud to be Australian.
Team sports are good like that, where you actually, because you're playing or you're performing for each other. I found that with Sat Champs representing Australia, and ultra running is the most individualistic sport you could ever pick. Right, but with Backyard Ultra, having a team of 15 of us, we're in a team. We're all together. We were all, you know, trying to get each other across that line, and it was an amazing feeling, like, through ultra running. That was really cool. I wanted to ask about your podcast. I often say to people, hey, you got to listen to Alex on his podcast. And they always ask me, what is it about? And I actually can't actually describe what it's about. But what would you say your podcast is about?
I always get so nervous when people are like, oh, what's your podcast? Like, I'll go listen to it. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm pretty loosey-goosey on podcasts.
Well, Rach goes to me, about, I'm like, oh, he's got his own podcast. She goes, I'll listen to it. Which episode? I'm like, I don't know which one to listen to, because it's awesome. It's epic. I love that you're super real, and that's an amazing thing to listen to. And often when I recommend it to mates, to be mates at work and stuff like that, that I know they'll get a good chuckle out of it, right? But what would you say? Yeah, that you're
Yeah, I think the podcast has had a lot of evolutions of what I wanted it to be. And even now it's going to have a different evolution when Troy comes back to it full time. And we're like having a bit of a break at the minute because I don't have a podcast room right now. But I'd say when it first began, I wanted it to be what my Instagram was at the time, which was how can I give every little bit of information that's helped me change my life and give that to people, and like a lot more serious conversations. You know, early on, I had some solo podcasts. I had a lot of guests on, and there were a lot deeper conversations. And then I started doing a lot more solo podcasts, and they were still deep, but more about certain topics like smoking, drinking, mindset stuff. And then I just got over it. I was just like, I don't want to be deep all the time. I don't think I need to talk about these things all the time. I want to have a bit more fun. And that's where this year's podcast has sort of changed a bit more, where I'd rather have segments where I talk about things that I think are funny. Like we have the Harry of the week, which I think is awesome. I get to call out someone for being a Harry, being an absolute legend and putting one foot in front of the other towards something they're doing. And then there's also like, what are the?
There's some random ones. The one where your brother was talking about the wizard.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was driving home. It's literally like 1:45, and I'm pissing myself laughing in the car. Like thinking, when I get home, I'm going to send this to everyone at work, because it's like I work with a heap of mechanics and stuff, and they're just like, and because we are us Sparkies, we're a little bit airy fairy. We're like a protected species at work, and we're always getting picked on, right? And then you've got all the mechanics and stuff like that at work, and then it was such a funny segment, that one.
Yeah. So then the next evolution has been Troy, because I want to talk about endurance, but I also want to talk about just things that I think are important, or things that I think are funny, things that are happening in the world, like how you handle your finances as a couple. I think that's a really interesting topic because everyone does it so differently. But then I also want to talk about Phil Gore just doing 119 yards. So I want it to be less serious and more just fun. And that's why bringing my brother into it, and I think that's the way forward. And I think I take a lot of inspiration from you guys as well. It's like I want a specific time once a week that my brother and I just get to sit down and do a podcast where we basically just talk shit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when I listen, because I listen to a lot of yours, and then I'm like, and you're very easy to listen to. Your voice is like, it's almost therapeutic. And then your brother spoke, and I'm like, oh my God, there's another one. There's another one with a deeper voice. And I seen Troy at King of the Hill, and I just seen him there, and I'm kind of walking around, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to introduce myself. And I'm like, he doesn't even know who you are, mate. Like he's gonna freak out. I'm like, nah, stuff it. Oh, hey Troy. He's like, hey, how you going? And he's looking at me thinking, I should know this guy's name. I'm like, no, it's okay. I'll listen to your podcast. It's awesome, all right? And I was wondering, I'm like, I wonder if he's kind of like, oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, this happens to me a lot. Or this never happened. This is the first time it's ever happened to me.
That was the first time it ever happened to him.
Oh, no.
But it happened a couple times at King of the Hill. People were like, oh, Troy. And he's like, oh, weird. But
yeah, I did get that. I was there when you introduced yourself. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah,
Like,
he's definitely new to him. I mean, but yeah, now the problem was he's a bit of a gypsy and he travels around everywhere. Now he's back in Melbourne. He's moved into his house with his wife. So now we're going to have some consistency. I just need to finish renovating 2 of the rooms in my house so we can set the podcast up permanently, because I'm sick of setting it up and packing it down.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure you can imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, the next way forward is basically just a corner of the internet where guys can come and just listen to a bit of shit chat, but then also maybe be a little bit inspired about some cool people doing some crazy things.
Yeah.
That's more of where I'm at. And I look at the podcast and I just see myself as basically no filter, where when I talk to King of the Hill, I try and not swear as much. And I, mind my P's and Q's as much as possible. And, I'm talking from a brand's perspective where pulling threads is just me. I want a space where I can just speak. And I don't think I have much to say important wise, but I think if you just want to come and listen to some shit talk and you want to hear two guys shoot the shit and talk about their endurance journeys, then I think that's the spot you're going to find it.
Yeah, I think it's a very it's almost like in a smoke-over room when you have a bit of a chit chat with guys, and you love it. You look forward to it. It's not so much that you're eating; you just what's on the next episode in the smoke-over room, and essentially that's how it feels when I was listening. So it's probably a good way of describing it.
Were you and Troy close growing up?
Nah, not really. Not really. Like that's one of the really impactful things that came from my sister passing. It completely changed our family dynamic. So there's 6 years between my brother and I. There's 9 years between my sister and I. So I'm the youngest by far. I missed a lot of, I don't remember a lot of us growing up. I just remember we used to fight all the time. And even with my parents, we didn't have a great relationship. Not that we hated each other or anything like that, but I care so deeply about my parents now, whereas I was indifferent when I was younger. Not because I hated them or anything like that, but just I didn't understand the meaning of family. And the way that our family dynamic was, we didn't promote that meaning. So it wasn't as prominent. And when my sister passed, I remember getting the call and not understanding, leaving work, and then we all flew up to Lowood, which is just outside of Ipswich. And my brother lived in Melbourne at that time, so I really didn't spend much time with my family for a lot of the time. I left my family home when I was 16. I didn't want to live with them anymore. I went and lived with a partner. My brother moved out. I never spent much time with him at home. My sister left not long after. So I don't know. I didn't really have this family where we were real tight. Like, I've never seen my parents kiss on the lips, which is such a strange thing to say. My parents are also quite old. They had me when mum was 39, but like that lovey-doveyness, I never understood that. And I've never felt more love from my family until my sister passed away, because it really like kicked everyone in the guts and was like, hey, these are the people that matter the most, because it just really changes your perspective when you lose someone. And I'd never lost anybody in my life before then. I grew up with no grandparents. I just had one who lived in Mackay. I never really spent any time with him. So for me, I didn't really understand that. And when I lost my sister, it's just days and days of crying. And at the same time, it was like such a terrible time for our family, because I remember my first day back at work after the whole ordeal. Like we put my sister in the ground, and my cousin died. And she was probably more of a sister to me than my sister. She had a heart attack. She was my age. And I remember it was literally my first day back at work. It was like one Sunday or Saturday. And I got this call and I was like, there's no fucking way. And just that whole time period, it like changed everything. It changed everything for our family. And from that, it brought my brother and I closer together, and it brought my parents and my brother closest together. And now my brother and I are best friends. When I started in Africa, or when I finished in Africa more I should say, I bought a unit next door to my brother so we could be closer in Melbourne.
That's cool.
Like I love my brother more than anybody in this world. I've looked up to him my whole life. Everything I've done in my life has been in the direct shadow to him. He traveled the world. I wanted to travel the world. He did a Kentucky. I wanted to do a Kentucky. He got a trade. I did a trade. You know what I mean? Like, I've always looked up to him, and now it's like, I don't know, we share everything together. I love him so much.
You can definitely see it on the podcast. It's actually it's a beautiful dynamic to see, brothers. Like, I've got a step brother, but I don't have a brother like that, where yeah, that connection, you can really see it where you guys just kind of feed off each other. It's amazing. And I mean, how it come to be is sad, but I suppose you kind of look at it now and go, well, this is a beautiful relationship that you have now from it.
Yeah, it's terrible to say, but it was the best thing that ever happened to us. Was my sister passing.
Yeah.
Which is like terrible. But it really changed the way I saw everything, like mental health. My sister, she suffered so badly with anxiety, depression. She made a lot of really poor decisions in her life that led her to where she got to. And before we lost her, I looked at the decisions that she made in her life and I thought they were dumb, but I really didn't understand why she made the decisions that she made and what led her to that point where after she left us, it made more sense why she made the decisions that she made and how she got to be where she was. And it took me from having no empathy and thinking, oh, my sister's a bit of a dropkick, which is funny because I was going down the exact same path, to be like, wow, she had to deal with so much. She was suffering for so long. And she just couldn't reach out in the end. And didn't have anyone to reach out to. Which was tough. Like my sister, I hadn't spoken to her for 6 months before she passed away. And I think about that. Like I didn't even have my sister's phone number. I feel terrible about that.
You can't think like that. You can't
I
think
know,
like
but
that.
it's just...
You can't think like that.
I know you can't think like that. But I didn't understand what it meant to be a family. I remember the last time I spoke to my sister was at a softball tournament in January. And I was pissed off because the first thing she said to me when she saw me was, "Can I have a cigarette?" And I just remember I was just so mad at her. And my family was there to watch me play softball. And I just thought, fuck you. That's the first words you have is like, "Can I have a cigarette?" And I look back on that and think, bro, you're such an idiot. Like you missed such an opportunity, but I just didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about anything.
Yeah. I suppose, yeah, when you look at it like that, those moments though is what's kind of made you who you are now. And, you know, your advocacy for mental health and, you know, your fundraising and, you know, your want to have this beautiful family for yourself, your connection with your brother, it's all kind of spanned from that.
Yeah.
So it's...
Yeah, I just want to do everything that has been done to my life way better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I love my family, but we could have done it better.
Yeah.
And I know we could have done it better, but...
We live from
Exactly.
we change from generation to generation.
It is what it is. Like, you can't change anything. I'm so... And it's like one of those, like, I would never go back and change anything. Like, everything happened for the reason that led us to this chair right now.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for every single thing that happened, every loss, every failed relationship, every time I looked back on the previous day's events and thought, why the fuck did I do that? And I mean, like, all those things led me to be right here, right now, with everything that I have. How could I ever want to change any of those things? Like, I have everything that I've ever wanted. Obviously, I always want more. I always want better. I always want bigger. That's just who we are. That's who we're trying to be. But I could die right now and be happy that I have achieved everything that I have in my life. And not like I ran 100K. Who cares about that? Yeah. I have a great relationship with my brother. I love his wife. I love my fiance. I can't wait to have children one day. I'm so thankful for where I live. I'm so thankful for the jobs and the money that I've been able to make in my life because I grew up in a mining town. You know what I mean? Like, there's all those things that when you live in a place like Mount Isa, you think, oh, fuck this. I hate this place. This sucks. But then I look back on my life and I think, well, because I lived there, I got to become a Sparky. I got to have mining money my entire life, which allowed me to make every mistake possible and still not be millions of dollars in debt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I got to make so many mistakes and learn from them because I made a good wage when I was too young and dumb to realize that that was a good wage.
Do you find it's almost like the old adage of like everything happens for a reason? Like we're always kind of talking about as soon as you find yourself in this moment, and it's like, well, everything was meant to be. It was all meant to lead me to this moment, and I was meant to go through those struggles so that I could deal with the things that were going to come at me in the future.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like I'm not religious at all. I don't know what's going to happen in the afterlife, but I don't know if everything has happened for a specific reason, but regardless of what has happened, it has led me to here. And whether it had been this way or another way, I'm glad it was this way.
That's cool.
So I think that's a really good way to finish this up. We'll get into a couple. We have a couple more questions, but yeah, that was beautiful. I really enjoyed just shutting my mouth and listening. That's awesome.
We got a couple questions each. A question, mate.
Just to finish up on.
To finish up on. Can you give us something like a teaser for our King of the Hill fans for 2026? Like something that no one knows that you're going to do, or something that you want to put your foot in and say, yeah, we're going to do that. And then you're going to spend 12 months trying to make it happen.
Oh, man. I think that's a hard one. That's a hard one for a teaser. I know the thing with events is you start with a plan. I'm going to do these 10 things. And then you get to the event. I was able to achieve 4 of these 10 things. But I know when we say we want to do 10 things, we actually want to do 10 things. And the only thing that ever stops us from being able to do 10 things is cash. We have none. We have none for now, but we are building. And I think the live stream and the content has really helped us on the sponsorship side of stuff, because if you think like a race director and you think making money from athletes is the way to do it, you've already lost. Brands should be paying for athletes to perform the way that they perform. And that is where the real money is made. It's not in, like if we had 500 athletes at $500 a pop at King of the Hill, it's $250,000. To service that kind of event, just to service what we had this year is probably minimum $100,000. So it's probably more like 150. Then you give away the money, then blah, 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 blah. It all adds up. And then you're really left with no money at the end of the day. Where you're really going to make, and firstly, to sell 500 tickets at $500, that's probably going to cost a lot of advertising. Yeah. So to actually get the things that you want to get, like we want to give away $100,000. Like that's what we want.
Right, that's it. Question answered. $100,000, 2026.
Like if we had $100,000, if we had $100,000 to give away, if we could financially make that work, we would do it. That's what we would do, 100%.
Maybe I might have to give up the school exams and come over if it's $100,000 on that.
But see, it's not even that, because it's not only the cash that we want to give away, because the cash is a direct representation of the effort that we want to show that the athletes come first. So it's like, if you think about first place, most of the time they don't care about the money. Like they may have signed up for the money, but by the time they get to the end of the event, they don't care. Yeah. It could be in $25,000. It could have been $5,000. They would have pushed just as hard. But us being able to give that money away is a direct reflection of where we are putting our money. It's a direct reflection of what we care about. Because we could spend that money on anything. Yeah. But to give it to the top contender, I think shows more than anything else. So going back to your question, what we're going to do for 2026 is execute better. Execute better on every front is the plan. So we had a lot of feedback about the starting canal being better, which we plan on definitely being better. We had a lot of feedback on better situation with the toilets. We had a lot of feedback saying that the toilets were the cleanest they've ever seen, but we lost a lot of money on having to get the toilets pumped out at the very start of the event. So we want more toilets, also toilets on the course. We got a bit of feedback, I think, from some of our female competitors. Obviously, we've upped the prize money the cash prize money from $25,000 to $32,000, and the overall prize purse, I suppose you call it, from 40 to 50,000, which gives gendered categories now. So 5,000 for last male, last female, 20,000 for last person, and then $1,000 cash this time, fastest male, fastest female. But yeah, I think we really want to focus on executing better this year. We definitely plan on having a grand stage. Live music has been a big one that we've spoken about. And the beer garden is like, I will personally pay for it. I want it there. And I mean beer garden in the sense of a heaps normal beer garden.
Yep.
That's something I'm really passionate about. And I think it just fits the brand so well.
Yep.
When you look back in 50 years' time, what do you hope that you're going to see?
Man, a lot of kids, a farm, and a really loving family. That's what I ultimately give a fuck about.
That's cool.
Like ultimately, I wanna have a wife that loves me, that respects me, that appreciates me, and then a bunch of kids that are absolute savages that say, "Dad, hurry up, let's go." Like
They call you mate.
yeah. I mean, that's what I hope to have. I hope to have as many kids as Hannah will allow me to have. I hope to be able to provide an environment for them to do as good as they can.
That's really cool.
Right.
That's what I care about. Everything else is just who gives a fuck.
That's fair enough. All right, so we got some listener questions.
Yeah.
All right, and then we'll get you some pizzas in your belly. So what's next in life? Like running, business. What's next for you? What's next that's big? We had a lot of people actually reached out and wanted to know what the next big thing is.
Yeah, so for me, I have two major goals. One is to quit my job as an electrician and support Hannah so she doesn't have to work ever again if she doesn't choose. And two is mostly just physical challenges. So at the moment, a bit similar to Ollie, I'm trying to get a faster 5K time, and I want to do that for probably 6 weeks, and then I want to take on Melbourne Front Yard Ultra. So yeah,
I'm definitely going now.
yeah, I want to dip my toe in, but
What's the date for that?
I think it's April or May or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Have you got crew? Have you got?
I already asked Ethan. He's in. Hannah probably. I was going to ask to crew you for MVP, but you said you weren't doing it. So
No.
I'm going to crew Brandon now to try and learn as much as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sick of watching people do backyards. I'm sick of having my laptop on at work and watching people do it. I want to just give myself to that.
Yeah, crush it.
Yeah, that's I want to go past the second night, and I want to keep going. I really feel like it's a
Land yourself on the Aussie team.
Yeah, I really feel like it's an event that I'm suited to. And I've spent this whole year dedicating myself to speed, and I've gained so much speed. I want to finish that off with a crazy 5K time. And then I just want to dedicate myself to training like it's a fast 100K race.
Yep.
So yeah, that is my idea. And I would love to do a marathon at the end of next year, but I don't really care about it as much.
Yep.
If you could go back and whisper one sentence into your ear the night before your very first run, what would you say?
The night before my very first run, there's one thing I could whisper in my ear. Maybe take a water bottle.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a good
I don't think I would say anything to alter my trajectory because it's already been perfect.
Yeah.
But maybe just take a water bottle or eat some food.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a couple more. What's the moment in a race or a training session where you truly surprised yourself in a way you still think about today?
Oh. I think the very last lap of the Antarctica run, for me, I love taking souls. And it sounds like I'm like this great runner, but honestly, I take souls at a 5K. I don't care. It's the most amazing feeling when you come home strong. And in the last lap, so the way the Antarctica run worked was 4 10-kilometer loops pretty much. And the last loop, I think I was 10th place or something like that. And I could feel the energy in my legs. I could feel everything about me wanting to push, wanting to chase down the people in front of me. I don't know. I think about that and I'm just really proud that I left it all out there. Because there was actually a guy I chipped right on the finish line. I didn't even notice. He was fourth and I literally patted him on the back and said, keep going, mate. And then crossed the finish line like a couple meters before him. I thought he was suffering so badly. He was suffering, particularly because the last straight was directly into the wind and it was the softest snow. But no, I think about that. I'm just really proud that I pushed for that last. I'm always proud when I finish the race and I know that I pushed and gave it everything that I had.
It's cool.
If someone handed you unlimited resources to create any mental health related project, what's the moonshot idea you'd execute tomorrow?
Wow. It's really hard because I think the mental health space is clouded with people who advertise but do nothing. And I find it really hard to align with charities because I know the underside of charities that don't do anything and are just raising money for the sake of raising money. So I have a slight distaste to a lot of charities. So I wouldn't want to start another charity. I feel like it's really hard to know which direction you should push mental health because I don't know the right direction. If it was up to me, I would make everyone do physical education and make everyone have some sort of, almost like in America back in the day when they had the presidency's exam, the fitness exam. I would love if we could just have more people be physically fit. I don't know how you do that without upsetting everyone.
Well, there's vending machines in Scandinavian countries that you need to do like 50 burpees and you can push a button and you'll get a bit of food out. That's what they do. Have you seen them?
I love that. No,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Maybe you roll out some vending machines.
I don't know. I think really how you help the mental health space is with something more like Hardcore Harry's, in my honest opinion. I don't think it's with more talks. I don't think it's with more education. I think it's with more activity. And I think specifically for boys, I think it's with more activity. I think less boys need to speak about their feelings, and I think more boys need to do hard things. And I speak only about boys because I don't know what would be better for women. I'm sure there would be many things that would constitute that, but I think if I was to really make a impact in the mental health space, of course I would love to raise money for charities like the Black Dog Institute. I'm a really big fan of them, mainly because I've been there. I see where the money goes. I see the initiatives that they have. I love what they do. And they're not just the end product. Like we go and speak to schools. Like they're not that. They're a scientific organization. And I love that about them. But I think really for me personally, how I can have an impact is more with something like the podcast, more with something like Hardcore Harry's with King of the Hill. I think that truly touches people further than will ever be from me coming to a school and speaking. Because ultimately you go to a school, I don't think I'm that interesting. I don't think I have that much to say. But I think when you're a guy and you're surrounded by other guys, or you're listening to a podcast where some guys are just shooting the shit, or you've got some guys who are like, hey, we've got this challenge, you can win $500 if you just do a couple loops of Albert Park. I think that does more for mental health than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, I like that. That was our last question.
Yep.
So, what do you reckon we bring this one across the finish line up?
Yeah, I know I say this every time, but I wish it's been a very long race, haven't we? We've been going for 2.5
You got to come up
hours.
with something better than it's been a really long race every time.
It's been a long and fun race.
Yes.
Though, right?
So as you know, me and Ollie do our Better by Next Week challenge every week, and the guests get to pick one for me and Ollie.
He's brought in a bag.
You're the first person that's brought a bag of goodies.
Yes.
So we're super excited.
Yeah. So obviously I listened to the podcast. I listened to the one, I think it was last week, where you talked about Ollie had to do a cold shower the first day, and I forget all the other challenges, but it was was a mental resilience challenge pretty much.
Yeah.
You were supposed to pick the hard thing.
Yeah.
And I was dirty because for me personally, that's what I would have done. Something similar to that, because I know for me, I want to prove to myself that I'm tough. And we all do these things to make us prove to ourselves that we're tough. But sometimes I feel like I'm lacking. So when I'm going for a run, I'll specifically run through a puddle, or I'll specifically run when it's hot. And I felt like your one last week was too close to that. So I couldn't give that to you. So what I've done is I've brought some gifts. Now I want you to choose the healthier option this week. Now, there's two things that I think, and I wouldn't just say healthier, but I would say different. I suppose you could say healthier, but like that, if you think about no sugar, no alcohol beer, lollies, you can always pick the full sugar, the full alcohol option. But often we think that the other option, the no sugar, no alcohol, low calorie lollies, we always think they suck. And often they do suck. But what I've come to learn from being with my fiance is that often these options don't suck, and they are so much better now than I ever thought. I remember when I was a young fella, you eat anything that is no sugar and it tastes like absolute dog shit. So my challenge this week is for you to substitute when you can the full sugar, the alcohol, the high calorie food for something that is the low calorie, the no sugar, the no alcohol option, and see the taste or feel the taste or experience the taste, and realize that, well, my hope is that you realize that these options aren't always terrible, and actually there's some really good ones. So for me personally, I bought you some Heaps Normal.
Woohoo!
So I didn't know if you
Thank you very much.
I didn't know if you drank Heaps Normal at all, but for me, I know non-alcoholic beer generally sucks, and Heaps Normal are amazing because they do the greatest non-alcoholic beer. So for the listeners, I want you to go buy some Heaps Normal. So if you would relax normally with a beer, I want you to try a non-alcoholic beer, preferably Heaps Normal, because it's actually going to taste good. If it's like Great Northern, it's going to taste like shit. So honestly, just pick Heaps Normal.
Yep.
And then the other one is because because Ollie's under 18. The other one that I wanted to incorporate was the lollies. So because we're ultra runners.
Ollie loves his lollies
Yeah.
too.
Take these ones. I think we give ourselves a lot of leeway because we're ultra runners, and we often pick the option that is not good for us. So, I mean, there's times when we need sugar. I get that. But then there's times when we tell ourselves that because we're an ultra runner, we can have sugar.
You're so right on that.
But I'm the same. I love, like, my partner's like, bro, just relax on the lollies, bro. And that was a big part of why I was overweight coming into Sydney to Melbourne, was I was too heavy because I was eating too much shit. So I've got right there, what are they called? Fun something?
Fun Day.
Yeah, Fun Day, which is a lolly brand. There's also Double D who do them well. They're really low calorie lollies, but they scratch the itch. Okay. And they're so good. So right there, you're looking at 102 calories per bag, and they're small bags. So you have one bag and you think, oh, that's actually pretty good. Like that sort of scratched the itch.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's only done it at 102 calories instead of the 500 or 600 calories from the bag of lollies you'd eat from Alan's party mix.
That's awesome.
That's really cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
For that.
So for your listeners, just switch out the option that is for the better one.
Yeah.
Or the one that is the low calorie, the low.
Yeah, I like that because these alternative, because you're still essentially doing the exact same thing. You're still having a frog or whatever, or a snake, but you're actually.
I love how he's brought this all low calorie stuff, but he's also brought.
We don't have to talk about
We
that.
don't have to talk about that. That's right after the podcast.
But yeah, I think often, because when my partner was bodybuilding, she bought these home, and I was like, "What the frig is that? Like, I don't want this. Oh, actually,
Fun
that's
Day.
actually all right.
There's 5 snakes in there.
Yeah, and for 102 calories, you're like, "There's no way, mate. There's no way." So that is my better by next week.
That's
challenge.
awesome.
Thank you so much for the challenges, and that's cool. Thank you for bringing us gifts. You didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
We'll finish up there, but where can people find you? Your podcast, your adventures.
Yeah, so Clearly Runs on Instagram is where you'll find all of my stuff, and you'll see links there to King of the Hill and to Pulling Threads.
Awesome. Thank you so much for making the time and Yeah, join us in the greenhouse.
I've loved this chat.
You've been an amazing
thank you so
guest.
much. I appreciate the offer. I mean, I love you guys just outside of the podcast and just as people. So I appreciate the offer to be here after so many amazing people have sat in these chairs, honestly.
No, you're an absolute legend. Thank you very much.
Thank you.